Chapter 960. To their surprise, Father Chen and the others hadn't expected Father Wang's wet nurse to actually receive such a big response from the cultivation forum. Judging from the attitude of the sect leaders earlier, they thought that the internet was just entertainment to kill time and wasn't worth reading at all. The cultivation forum had a high threshold for entry and could be said to be a gathering place for the big shots in the cultivation world. In the eyes of these sect leaders, instead of wasting time on the internet, which had a similar pattern, it was better to memorize a few secret manuals on the Heart Sutra and learn more about gossip to increase one's experience and knowledge. Even if it was just to prepare for seclusion, it was still much more interesting than reading online literature. It had to be said that Father Wang's wet nurse had amazed them. At first glance, there might be a lot of routine elements in the novel, but there were also a lot of interesting cultivation secrets and knowledge. Furthermore, some of the big shots from the sects could already tell that these secret cultivation texts weren't made up at random. The truth was that Father Wang had made ample preparations before writing this book. Although his realm was low, his knowledge of cultivation wasn't necessarily inferior to that of these sect leaders. And this was actually all thanks to Wang Ling, who had enlightened Father Wang's computer. Thus, Father Wang had a photographic memory and could automatically make associations with all the cultivation knowledge he had on the internet. He could make conjectures about a certain cultivation phenomenon in a form similar to an academic paper, and then finally integrate them into a paragraph. This was the legendary big shot operation that belonged to Father Wang alone. Thus, while Father Wang's novel was just an interesting novel for online readers, in the eyes of the big shots from the sects with truly high realms, it became an incomparably interesting academic paper. Thus, what the big shots paid attention to wasn't the cool points and plot in Father Wang's novel, but the paragraphs about the protagonist entering various secret realms as well as the analysis of some magic research. It had always been said that the level of one's realm determined one's vision. Many parts of Father Wang's novel seemed to be nonsense, but that wasn't actually the case. There was still real stuff in it. Thus, Father Chen's promotional post on the cultivation forum instantly went viral, and was even pinned to the top of the home page by Administrator Uncle Cat. It was already close to 8 o'clock in the evening, and Father Wang's wet nurse finally began to show new strength under the push of the sect leaders of the major sects. The horn of reversal had already been officially blown. On the other side, in the Balance Magic Center, Liang Heng and his group could no longer sit still. What's going on? What's going on with Wang Situ? Liang Heng asked as he put out his cigarette. He had thought that Zhu Ji's victory was already inevitable, but he hadn't expected Father Wang's sudden burst of strength to catch him off guard. So many gifts, and they all seemed to be newly registered Smurfs. Someone replied. The group leaders on Liang Heng's side noticed that these accounts that were giving large amounts to Wang Situ had just been registered. They didn't have avatars or even IDs that had been changed. They were the original IDs that had been automatically generated when the accounts were registered, followed by a series of numbers. F*CK, they're all tips worth 10 million book coins, and there are already more than 10 of them. Where did he summon so many firestorm wheels in such a short time? Liang Heng was puzzled. It wasn't just Liang Heng, even the other group leaders were dumbfounded. They had no idea what was going on. Although the Cultivation Reading Network was currently the largest portal for online serials, and was also a gathering place for many nouveau riches, there were too many nouveau riches who had suddenly gathered at Father Wang's side. Could it be the young master of some financial group? I'm not sure. Liang Heng shook his head. Even if it was a young master of a financial group, it shouldn't have caused such a stir. The most important thing was that not only were there a lot of gifts in such a short period of time, the accounts were all different. Even if a nouveau riche young master was giving gifts, he shouldn't have opened so many different accounts, right? Then Brother Liang, what about Arshi and Z? What's the gap in votes now? It's a little strange. They've been giving large amounts of gifts, and in just 3 minutes, they've already given almost 600,000 HNY. But no one's giving out red packets for monthly votes? 10 million book coins comes with 1,000 monthly votes, and they've only caught up with 6,000 votes now. The gap between us hasn't widened yet. No one's giving out red packets for monthly votes? That can't be right. Liang Heng was a little blank. After thinking for a bit, he said, "Let's wait and see. We still have almost 300,000 HNY on hand. If they're not giving out red packets for monthly votes, it might be a scam." Father Chun and the others were thrilled. They never expected the sect leaders to be so generous as to give out tens of thousands of HNY in one go. In just a few minutes, they had already given Father Wang almost 600,000 HNY, which was something Father Chun had never dared imagine. But Lin Gang also noticed that no one was giving out red packets for monthly votes. "Why isn't anyone giving out red packets?" Lin Gang asked. "Basically, none of the sect leaders do. Maybe they don't know how to do it. Giving out red packets is easier," Father Chen said. "Then I'll sort it out." Using Father Chen's forum account, Lin Gang started asking for monthly votes in the cultivation forum. "Thank you for your support, sect leaders. Today is the Cultivation Reading Network's Rookie King of the Year competition. I believe the author has already felt the gifts from all the sect leaders." Someone immediately replied below. "It's just a small amount. I just hope the author will write more about the Black Tortoise Secret Land. His speculations in the novel are very interesting and very valuable for research. It's nothing. Although our sect is only a black level sect, our annual revenue is hundreds of millions. These gifts are just to encourage the author." Father Chun and the others were stupefied. Sure enough, this was how the big shots operated. Lin Gang then replied, "But the gifts aren't the key right now. The most important thing is the monthly votes. There's still a long way to go before we reach first place. Here's a screenshot of how we give out red packets for monthly votes. Each red packet costs 5 yuan, which is equivalent to 500 book coins. I hope all the sect leaders can do their best to help us." Sigh, I feel like this process is a little troublesome. It's not troublesome at all. No, I still think it's a little troublesome. How many votes are we still short of first place? We're still short by more than 40,000 votes. It used to be almost 50,000, but the sect leader's series of gifts of 100,000 yuan narrowed the gap. A gift of 10 million book coins is 100,000 yuan, and you can get 1,000 monthly votes as a gift. Oh, so it's 100,000 yuan plus 1,000 monthly votes, right? Yes, okay, then we know what to do. Then we'll just give gifts until we surpass first place in votes. Very quickly, a sect leader in the cultivation forum replied. Father Chun and Lin Gang. Super Chun and Wang Ling. Chapter 961. It could only be said that these sect leaders were in the end sect leaders. Father Chun and the others were stupefied. This group of sect bigwigs, whose annual revenue was hundreds of millions, completely didn't care about a measly 100,000 HNY. Father Chun ran a body techniques dojo, and when business was good, it was already pretty good for him to earn millions of HNY a year, which was enough for his family to live a well-off life. Although he couldn't compare with these sect leaders, at least he didn't have to worry about food or clothing, and he could occasionally enjoy a few luxurious trips and experience the wonderful richness of life. But even with Father Chen's family conditions, he absolutely couldn't afford to spend hundreds of thousands of HNY. This was more than treating money like dung. Money was dung. That day, thanks to the repeated rewards from Wang Situ's group of Nouveau Riche sect readers, the Cultivation Reading Network's battle for the top of the best newcomer ranking finally achieved an irreversible reversal. The leadership of the website was alarmed, and Zhu Ge was dealt a heavy blow. He directly shriveled up and didn't dare say a word. Even if he wanted to frame Father Wang for manipulating votes, he couldn't do anything about it, because Father Wang's votes had all been rewarded by his book friends. The records of the rewards were there, and the readers of the entire reading network had witnessed it. This was an absolute and unquestionable counterattack. Father Chen didn't know what Zhu Ji's situation was like, but in the last half hour of the battle for votes last night, Liang Heng had sent someone to the cultivation forum to share Zhu Ji's book Shameless, but in the end, Uncle Cat had directly banned the post. After all, not everyone's writing was as profound as Father Wang's. Liang Heng had been dealt a heavy blow. This was the first time since university that he hadn't fought Father Chen, and he felt aggrieved and depressed. Not only had Zhu Ge failed to win the best author ranking, Liang Heng himself had invested almost 100,000 HNY monthly votes for Zhu Ge, but in the end he still hadn't been able to stabilize the situation. But at the same time, there were a lot of suspicious points. For example, that rich heiress dark governor Lady 13 had disappeared without a trace after the first 100,000 HNY, and hadn't appeared since. If Liang Heng hadn't been convinced that this famous Lady 13 would also join the battle, he would never have been so sure that Zhu Ge would win the battle for the best author ranking from the very beginning. Where had this Lady 13 gone to? The Eel department of the Cultivation Reading Network was located in the middle of a bustling business and entrepreneurial park in the city. There were quite a few outstanding young companies in the park, and the Cultivation Reading Network was one of them. As a large-scale online portal, the company's current website already encompassed an entire building, and the floors were divided according to department. On the second floor of the Eel department, there was a middle-aged man with a beer belly. He wore a military coat and a gold chain around his neck. The middle-aged man looked a little gloomy, as if he had just experienced a storm. Smoking was prohibited in the Eel department's resting area, but this person lit his own cigarette. The disgusting smell of smoke wafted into the air, causing the S who passed by to pour their own coffee to frown. This person was the godly author of the Cultivation Reading Network, Zhu Ge. His original name was Xin Yuan. Teacher Zhu Ge, Director Huang invited you in. After a while, a beautiful female called out to him. Basically, when writers came to the Eel department, the S would not call them by their real names, but by their pseudonyms. Similarly, this was the first time the female had seen Zhu Ge in person. To be honest, it was a little different from what she had imagined. Although his pseudonym was Zhu Ge, he looked a little wretched and didn't have the demeanor of Zhu Ge at all. What a waste of this pseudonym. The female tried hard to maintain her smile, and not let her inner thoughts show on her face. What's wrong with old Huang today? I've been waiting for a long time. Zhu Ge put down his crossed legs, looking a little impatient. Teacher Zhu Ge, this way please. No need to lead the way, I can walk. Zhu Ge frowned. As he walked toward the office, he couldn't help but look at the female. You're new here, right? Yes. You should be called Guru Zhu Ge. Do you know? I'm your guru author here. Sorry, Teacher Zhu Ge. The female apologized. She was suppressing her anger, and a ball of fire in her heart. She wished she could turn into a fire-breathing Godzilla and burn this fatty in front of her. This female had actually been looking forward to meeting Zhu Ge today. This was too much of a loss of fans. It's okay, I'm still very magnanimous. Congratulations to Teacher Zhu Ge for winning second place this year. Wait here, I'll go find your leader. Newcomers don't even know how to speak. With that, Zhu Ge walked into the office in a huff. As soon as the door closed, the female heaved a sigh of relief. A few colleagues who were pouring coffee surrounded her. Xiao Yuan, are you okay? Relax, Zhu Ge is like this. You're new, Director Huang won't do anything to you. Thank you, Biscuit, Big Su. I'm fine. Zhu Ge got second place, so he's in a bad mood. He must be holding it in. Now he's taking it all out on you. When Director Huang called him in, he didn't seem to be in a good mood either. I wonder what Zhu Ge will do. Xiao Yuan sighed. On the other side, in the in-chief's office. As soon as he entered, Zhu Ge began to curry favor. Old Huang. In the office, call me Director Huang. In the boss's chair. In-chief Huang Tao pushed up his glasses. Okay. Director Huang. Zhu Ge's mouth twitched. The air seemed to freeze for a moment. A moment later, Zhu Ge cleared his throat and asked, about the best author, does Director Huang have any ideas? Everyone saw how Wang Situ crushed you with his gifts, his sales, and his votes yesterday. There's no other way but to get rid of him now. What, do you still want to search for him? Go to his house. Huang Tao smiled. Actually, I did have this idea before. Save it, Zhu Ge. Chief Huang's face darkened. Do you know who gave him such a large amount of gifts yesterday? Who? Zhu Ge was stunned. They were the sect leaders of the various major sects on the Cultivation Forum. If you dare lay a hand on Wang Situ, I guarantee that the next day, these sect leaders will join hands to suppress you. Sect leaders. Zhu Ge didn't dare believe it. How is that possible? You write history, while Wang Situ writes fantasy. Furthermore, there are some academic things in his books. If you don't understand them, you can treat them as fun, and if you do, you can treat them as treasures, Chief Huang said. He crossed his fingers and rested his chin on his fingers. Also, our company has always had a big female nouveau riche reader called Dark Governor Lady 13. You should know her, right? Zhuge. Zhuge was stunned. He didn't know why the in-chief had suddenly mentioned this person, and a few drops of cold sweat rolled down his face. Zhuge. She's the reader who helped me fight for the rankings yesterday, and she's also my loyal fan. Of course I know her. Hee, that's right, of course you know her. How could you not know her? Chief Huang chuckled, and then took out a file from a drawer. Take a look, Zhuge. This is a report from someone anonymously. Furious, Zhuge stood up. Who wants to report me? Calm down, Zhuge. Chief Huang laughed bitterly. When he looked at Zhuge again, his expression was a little complicated. Maybe I shouldn't have called you Zhuge. Director Huang, what do you mean? What do I mean? Huang Tao smiled coldly. That Dark Governor Lady 13 is actually you, right? Chapter 962. These words caused Zhuge's expression to freeze. For a moment, his mind was completely blank, and he didn't know what to say at all. Ever since last night, he'd felt that things weren't going quite right. It didn't seem to be as simple as he'd imagined, but who would have thought? The air seemed to freeze momentarily. Zhuge gulped, and his Adam's apple bobbed nervously. He even put out the cigarette in his hand. Director Huang, what do you mean? I don't understand. Chief Huang Tao smiled. Stop pretending, Zhuge. I know everything. This report isn't about you, it's about your identity. Open it and take a look. This document had already been opened, so it was clear that Chief Huang had already seen the contents of the report. Zhuge's heart trembled slightly as he took the document away. There were a few documents and a photo in the folder. These documents contained investigation records and online shopping records of multiple IP addresses. Back then, in order to hide his identity, he'd bought the account Dark Governor Lady 13 from a marketing account. And in order to help this account set up the perfect image of a rich missy of a financial group, Zhuge had bought Voice Changer and other software online to hide his true identity. The IP address of the account and the voice changer on these documents were all the same, and this address referred to Zhuge's home. Zhuge's heart sank. If he wanted to find an excuse, he could have said that these documents were all fake and couldn't be trusted. But what really made Zhuge uneasy was a photo in the folder. Back then, in order to create the image of this Dark Governor Lady 13, Zhuge had even thought of cross-dressing and appearing on camera, but his cross-dressing plan had failed. He'd spent 20,000 yuan to buy a high-definition beauty camera online, but it hadn't been able to save his fat face and body. Thus, Zhuge had given up on the cross-dressing plan and switched to using a voice changer to hide his identity. But Zhuge hadn't announced his cross-dressing plan to the public. He'd only adjusted it in private, and this photo was taken when he was adjusting it. From the angle of the photo, it should have been taken by the camera on the front of the laptop. Zhuge, you've really disguised yourself well this time. Even I was fooled by you. Actually, it's not just photos, there's also a video. The video is currently in my hands. Everything is irrefutable. Chief Huang sighed. CEO Huang? Zhuge knew that he was powerless to argue. You know, if the readers know that this Dark Governor Lady 13's identity is fake, they might doubt the fairness of our website. Once it is leaked out, it will greatly affect our website. Moreover, your actions are in itself a scam, Huang Tao said. Director Huang, this is all a misunderstanding. Whether it's a misunderstanding or not, you and I both know very well. However, this anonymous informant didn't kill the game. He gave a suggestion. As long as you keep your promise, he won't leak Lady 13's information. What does he want to do? Zhu Ji's face was completely gloomy. His body relaxed like a deflated balloon, knowing that he had lost the upper hand. Huang Tao thought for a moment and said, First, you can't log into Dark Governor Lady 13's account anymore. This no problem. Also, let's terminate the contract, Zhuge. Chief Huang raised his head and said one last sentence to Zhuge. So back then, Wang Situ had driven away Guru Zhu Guo as soon as he had joined the website. And this incident made Father Wang famous on the Cultivation Reading Network. For a summary, see Chapter 74, Father Wang's Daily Search for Inspiration. But if he hadn't scanned Super Chen's memories this time, he really wouldn't have known that so many bizarre stories would have happened afterwards. Zhu Jiyi's defeat meant that Liang Heng's investment in the best author battle had gone down the drain, which was an unprecedented and major blow for Liang Heng. Balance Magic Center's business also worsened as a result. On the other hand, Super Chen's dad's Body Techniques dojo was vigorously promoted by Father Wang. Father Wang knew that it was Super Chen and the other group leaders who had fought hard for the monthly votes, and he really didn't feel very grateful in his heart. After winning the best author battle, Father Wang sent out a lot of red packets to all the major fan groups to thank all the readers for their support. In the next few days, he worked himself to the bone every day to write tens of thousands of words. Business at Father Chen's Body Techniques dojo had improved, but for some reason, Father Chen had an ominous premonition. The next day was the first day of the new year, and the Body Techniques dojo was closed. But Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling didn't stop training. In the morning, the two of them were doing exercises in the courtyard. Father Chen had designed these exercises himself, and he planned to apply for a patent. According to Father Chen himself, practicing the exercises he had designed was more effective than practicing military boxing. Back then, there had been an online college student practicing military boxing who had been able to stand tall after being stabbed 32 times while subduing a gangster. Father Chen felt that if he practiced his exercises in advance, he wouldn't have to be afraid of being stabbed in the future. Super strength basic body tempering gymnastics. Practice one set and you'll see the results. Even if you get stabbed once, you won't scream. Practice 2 sets and you'll have miraculous results. You'll definitely want to get stabbed a second time. Wang Xiaoling had only been training for a few days, and her body was still a little uncoordinated. Super Chen, on the other hand, had been practicing this exercise for a long time. Super Chen was only a few months older than Wang Xiaoling, and they were almost the same age. Wang Xiaoling followed behind Super Chen and learned the movements a little clumsily, while Super Chen deliberately moved very slowly, so that Wang Xiaoling could follow. Xiaoling Super Chen? Halfway through the exercise, Xiaoling's mom's voice came from the fence at the entrance. Auntie! Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling hurried over. Auntie bought some stuffed jianbing from West Street this morning. You haven't had breakfast yet, have you? Xiaoling's mom handed over 2 portions of stuffed jianbing and 2 cups of soy milk through the gap in the fence. Not yet, my dad is making it. Super Chen took the food and smiled. Auntie, come in. No, I'll come back tomorrow. Auntie has something to do today. Xiaoling's mom refused. Super Chen felt that Xiaoling's mom's tone was a little strange. The fence was a little high, and the vegetation on the side blocked his view, so he couldn't see Xiaoling's mom's face clearly. Without batting an eyelid, Super Chen found an angle to look through the gap. When he saw her face, he immediately knew why she wasn't willing to come in. Xiaoling's mom's face was covered in bruises. Although she was wearing a mask, it couldn't completely hide the bruises. Who on earth had done these bruises? Was it Liang Chao who did it? Super Chen guessed in his heart. Chapter 963. Super Chen ate this breakfast sullenly and gloomily. He looked at Wang Xiaoling and felt a little sorry for her. He hadn't asked directly just now because he was afraid of hurting Xiaoling. It was said that daughters wear sweet little cotton-padded jackets. Which girl wouldn't be distressed to see her own mother beaten up? Wang Ling was a little moved by Super Chen's thoughts. Although Super Chen was still young, he was clearly a good child who cared about other people's feelings. If a daughter was sweet little cotton-padded jackets, then Super Chen was a military coat that wrapped around the body. This was what Wang Ling thought. When Father Chen came over with breakfast, he saw Super Chen absent-mindedly nibbling on a fruit jianbing very slowly. He immediately knew that Xiaoling's mom had probably brought food over again, and he instantly scolded him. Super, why didn't you let Xiaoling's mom in? I did, but Auntie. Super Chen hesitated. Seeing this, Father Chen knew what was going on and didn't ask any more questions. After breakfast, Father Chen called Super Chen over for a private talk And it was then that he learned that Xiaoling's mom had been injured. Father Chen didn't know exactly how Xiaoling's mom had been injured, but he might be able to get some clues if he asked someone nearby, so he called a nearby student. There were also students from his body techniques dojo near the rental house where Xiaoling's mom lived, and Father Chen thought that maybe one of them had seen her. In the end, he only made the first call, and there was already news. On the other end of the line, the student received a call from Father Chen asking about Xiaoling's mom. At first, he was a little reluctant to talk about it. It was likely that his parents had already told him not to meddle in other people's business. Just tell me. I won't tell anyone else. You know, Xiaoling is now a child of our body techniques dojo. Do you still remember what our dojo's motto is? Practicing martial arts isn't for beating people up, it's for upholding justice. If you tell them what you know, you'll be helping Xiaoling. You'll also be upholding justice. Father Chen said. He knew that this was a little too much, and also a little like moral coercion. Father Chen knew that it wasn't very good, but he had to know what on earth had happened to Xiaoling's mom. This was the only way. The child on the other end of the line was silent for a while before telling the truth. Curator, it's like this. Yesterday, I saw Chief Liang's son, Tiger Liang, on my balcony. He was wearing a cast and was leading a group of kids to bully Xiaoling's mom. They burned all the waste that Xiaoling's mother collected yesterday with a fireball spell. The two black piles in front of the waste station are the traces. He was only 10 years old, and children at this age were not in their rebellious phase. Basically, they would do whatever their parents said, so it was not easy for him to muster the courage to say what he saw. After saying this, Father Chen was a little incredulous. Kids nowadays even hit people, and Liang Heng doesn't do anything about it? Are you sure Liang Heng did not show up yesterday? No, when Tiger Liang bullied Xiaoling's mom yesterday, Chief Liang never showed up. The child on the other end of the line whispered. I wanted to go down to help, but my parents told me not to be a busybody and to pretend that I didn't see anything. They also didn't let me call the police. Curator, don't blame me for this. It's all right, child. You've already helped Xiaoling's mom a lot by saying all this. I understand everything else. Father Chen comforted him. There was a saying that onlookers didn't mind things getting bigger. This was a common problem everywhere. It wasn't that there weren't warm-hearted people, but most warm-hearted people had been shocked quite badly. Everyone actually had the thought of doing good deeds, but they were afraid that doing good deeds would cause a lot of trouble. After about 5 or 6 minutes, the call ended. Father Chen now understood the gist of the situation. It was Tiger Liang who had caused Xiaoling's mom's injury, and there was no escaping it. Someone nearby had called the police yesterday, and by the time the police arrived, it was already over. Furthermore, because it was a group of kids who had gathered to cause trouble and were underage, they were all brought back to the police station. And after a few minutes of education, they were all released. It could be said that Tiger Liang, this brat, hadn't suffered the slightest bit because of the Cultivation World's Protection of Minors Act. On the other hand, the waste that Xiaoling's mom had painstakingly collected all day yesterday had been burned, and she had also been beaten up. The point was that it was a child who had beaten her up, so the police couldn't do anything about it. But out of humanitarian assistance, the cultivation police still accompanied Xiaoling's mom to the hospital to treat her injuries. The police suggested that it would be best for Xiaoling's mom to go somewhere else. This group of kids had deliberately caused trouble, and if it happened once, there would definitely be a second time. Because of the law protecting minors, even if the police were very angry, they couldn't do anything to Tiger Liang. After listening to this account, Father Chen was so angry that he trembled all over. It was said that a brat definitely had a brat parent behind him. He didn't believe that Tiger Liang would cause trouble for Xiaoling's mom for no reason. It was most likely Liang Heng who had instructed him to do so. Furthermore, Father Chen knew that Liang Heng had already heard that Xiaoling was studying at his school. Father Chen knew that he absolutely couldn't ignore this matter, but he also couldn't personally get involved. Liang Heng was still hiding in the background and watching the fire burn. Father Chen wanted to use this method to provoke Father Chen, and in the end, see the defeated look on Father Chen's face. But how on earth should this matter be resolved? Father Chen lit a cigarette as he pondered. That night in the chat group, Father Chen shared the whole story with Father Wang's Alliance Leader fan group. Father Chen was now Father Wang's #1 fan leader. And after that big battle yesterday, the various sect leaders had also joined the fan group. Sect leader of Heavenly Xian Sect Han Run. That's too much. Isn't this bullying? Sect leader of Tyrant Earth Sect Zhang Jida. The director of this Balance Magic Center is a scheming person, using a child to provoke an adult. The law protecting minors is good, but I'm afraid that some scum will take advantage of this loophole to do bad things. The child raised by this scum isn't a good person. Sect leader of Star Killer Sect Song Kaihua. I don't think it's too late. This child has been led astray by his father, but in the end he's only 10 years old. There will always be mistakes, as long as they are corrected in time. After hearing Father Chen's story, everyone in the group was talking animatedly for a moment. Father Chen also said in the group, I still haven't thought of a better way to deal with this matter. I suspect that Tiger Liang will definitely cause trouble again tomorrow. Even if the police get to the scene later, nothing will be done. Sect leader of Heavenly Xian Sect Hanren suddenly said, Director Chen, isn't your body techniques dojo? Zhang Deji immediately said, Old Han, what are you thinking? How can you instigate that group of children to help fight? Isn't that just misleading them? Director Chen isn't that kind of person. That's true. Hanren nodded and said, Sorry Director Chen, I misspoke. Father Chen was about to reply that it was fine, when he saw Zhang Deji, the leader of Tyrant Earth Sect, say again, Director Chen isn't that kind of person, but I am. Sect leader of Heavenly Xian Sect Han Ren. Sect leader of Star Killer Sect Song Kaihua. Father Chen. Zhang Deji said. In any case, our 3 sects are all in Songhai City. My son is 8 years old this year. Old Han Old Song, how old is your family? Han Ren. I only have one son 11 years old. Song Kaihua. My youngest son is also 9 years old. Zhang Deji. The world is dangerous. It's time for them to understand the abyss of suffering in the world. Everyone. Zhang Deji sent a sinister smile emoji. In any case, it's a fight between children, it's not against the law. They use their children, we use ours. Father Chen was stunned. Were the children of the 3 sect leaders going to teach Tiger Liang a lesson? Tiger Liang was already iron crutchly now. It was likely that his second leg would also be temporarily offline tomorrow. Chapter 964. The news that Xiaoling's mom had been beaten up very quickly reached Liang Heng's ears, but this didn't relieve his anger. Strength Super Martial Arts Dojo was gaining momentum, and as Wang Situ's fan, Chunyi's martial arts dojo was also receiving a lot of praise. Wanting to topple Chunyi now was no longer an easy task. Liang Heng came up with a new plan to deal with this. If what those students said was true, then Wang Xiaoling was indeed a rare genius. If they could recruit Wang Xiaoling to their Balance Magic Center, and finally make Wang Xiaoling the spokesperson of their magic center, then they could quickly regain the popularity they had lost. However, Liang Heng was also well aware that it wouldn't be easy to win Wang Xiaoling over. It was obviously impossible to not threaten and teach Xiaoling's mom a lesson. In fact, Liang Heng had privately asked Xiaoling's mother about transferring to the Balance Magic Center yesterday, but Xiaoling's mother had flatly refused. Liang Heng was someone who cared about his reputation. The more he didn't want something, the more he wanted it. This stubborn personality had also been passed on to Tiger Liang. Because of this personality, Liang Heng had never suffered any losses since he was young. Liang Heng was so overbearing that no one dared to provoke him lightly. But if he continued like this, he would most likely face great danger one day at night. A group of children came to the Balance Magic Center, and Liang Heng ordered a lot of chicken buckets to entertain them. These were the children who had accompanied Tiger Liang to cause trouble with Xiaoling's mom yesterday. Little Tiger was awesome yesterday. He'll definitely be very successful when he grows up. Liang Heng praised him on the side, then looked at the other children. The other children also performed well. My little Tiger is injured. Please take care of him. Liang Heng was very astute. He only mentioned take care of them to the others, and didn't directly incite the children to help Tiger Liang cause trouble. Dad, Mom seems to have found out about what happened yesterday. She's really angry. Tiger Liang said after thinking for a while as he nibbled on a fried chicken leg. That tigress, don't mind her. Don't learn from your mom. Learn from your dad. Liang Heng rubbed Tiger Liang's head, maintaining his smile. Liang Heng always called his wife Tigress, even in front of outsiders. Back then, when he married this university teacher from Chenyi and gave birth to Tiger Liang, Liang Heng felt that there wasn't much love left between them as a couple. He always felt that something was missing. He didn't have the joy of fighting for Tiger Liang's mother in front of Chenyi. To Liang Heng, raising his son Tiger Liang with all his might was the key. That tigress at home was nothing to be afraid of. No matter how fierce the tigress was, didn't she still become his wife? As the saying goes, nothing ventured, nothing gained. Liang Heng did not realize that he had ruined another classic phrase. As Father Chen expected, Tiger Liang brought a bunch of naughty kids to trouble Xiaoling's mom at noon the next day. Actually, they didn't know that what they were doing would be considered criminal behavior when they came of age, and would instead find it very amusing. It was impossible to understand the behavior of naughty kids to begin with. Furthermore, there were naughty parents encouraging them behind the scenes, which would only make their children even more unscrupulous and worse. Father Chen didn't let Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling make a move. There was a coffee shop near Xiaoling's mom's recycling station, and he took Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling to sit in the coffee shop and observe the situation. As soon as Tiger Liang appeared with the bunch of naughty kids, Wang Xiaoling pointed nervously at him. Super Chen held Wang Xiaoling's helpless hand and calmed her down. Don't worry, Xiaoling, let's just watch the show. Indeed, they just needed to watch the show, because at that very moment, the sons of the three sect leaders had already been waiting for a long time in Xiaoling's mom's recycling store. Early that morning, a limo dropped off the three of them at the door of the recycling station. Xiaoling's mom was stupefied, thinking that this group of people had come to cause trouble again. In the end, the bodyguards who had come along with them came along and collected all the junk in Xiaoling's mom's recycling station. Of course, the bodyguards didn't have any use for this junk. On one hand, they were doing good deeds, and on the other hand, they were making room for the three young masters. The recycling station wasn't big to begin with, and it was just enough space for the kids to fight and to collect old junk. Then, the three young masters of Tyrant Earth Sect, Heavenly Xian Sect and Star Killer Sect, whose average age was less than 10 years old, sat on small folding stools that had been prepared beforehand and waited for Tiger Liang and his gang to come over. The three young masters sat obediently on the stools. Each of them was wearing a small suit and a pair of sunglasses, and looked like they had been brought up very well. Xiaoling's mom didn't know what was going on at first, but it wasn't until noon when she saw Tiger Liang, who had come to cause trouble the day before, come over with his men again that she more or less understood. Xiaoling's mom wanted to go up and calm them down, but she still had lingering fears when she recalled how she had been burned by Tiger Liang's fireball spell yesterday. The tall bodyguard on the side smiled faintly when he saw this. Don't panic, Auntie. Just relax and let the kids handle their own matters. The three young masters had their own missions, and so did he. Apart from protecting the three young masters' safety, this bodyguard was actually here to control the situation. If something unexpected happened, someone would have to intervene. He had come on the orders of Tyrant Earth Sect's Sect Master Zhang Daiji, who had single-handedly planned this counterattack. At this moment, Tiger Liang came over. When he saw the three obedient young masters sitting in front of the recycling station, he instantly smiled sinisterly and shouted, "Are the three of you the reinforcements Xiaoling's mom sent?" The three young masters looked at each other and didn't reply. For the sake of today's appearance, they had gotten the same hairstyle done early in the morning, and even wore the same clothes. Apart from their different heights, they looked exactly like three brothers from afar. The relationship between the three sect masters was pretty good to begin with, and the relationship between the three young masters was naturally extraordinary as well. If you don't say, then I'll take that as tacit agreement. Tiger Liang chuckled. I might be lame in one leg, but I advise you to get out of the way, otherwise you'll suffer. Tiger Liang was the tyrant of this generation of brats, and when he spoke, he naturally sounded like he was bullying the weak. But the three young masters weren't to be trifled with. Balance Magic Center was indeed very famous in this area, But no matter how famous it was, could it compare to the children of the three sect masters themselves? No matter how strong Liang Heng was or how famous his magic center was, in the face of a true light force, it was just a small, mediocre place. The three young masters didn't understand why a kid from a small dojo could be so arrogant. The kid standing in the middle immediately made a move. He was the son of Tyrant Earth Sect's sect master, Zhang Diji, and was only 8 years old. This move was so fast that Super Chen didn't even have time to react. By the time he came back to his senses, the first round had already smashed into the right side of Tiger Liang's face. Bang! With a bloody front tooth, Tiger Liang was sent flying on the spot. Chapter 965. Father Chen saw that the fight had already begun at the recycle bin, and hesitated whether to go over and take a look. The three young masters were too powerful, and were more agile than some of the older kids who had been training in his body techniques dojo for years. Father Chen was stupefied. But after thinking about it, Father Chen in the end didn't decide to step forward. Zhang Deji had sent a bodyguard to keep an eye on them, and judging from his aura, that bodyguard was at the golden core stage. He would always be there to keep an eye on things, and it was impossible for anyone to die. Besides, Tiger Liang, this brat, was relying on his dad Liang Heng to bring a bunch of brats to smash and rob Xiaoling's mom's place, and even injure her. Father Chen got angry at the thought of it. This was a rare opportunity, and he had to give Tiger Liang a good beating no matter what. That day, Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling were dumbfounded. No matter how much they trained in the body techniques dojo, watching real sect disciples fight at such a close distance, especially the young masters of genuine sects, was an experience they had never had before. Not all rich second-generation kids relied on their fathers to bully others like Tiger Liang. Rich second-generation kids were relative, and there were rich second-generation kids at every level. In their area, Tiger Liang was a rich second-generation kid. But compared with Zhang Daji and the other sect leaders, the Liang family's balanced magic dojo was comparable to a slum. The three young masters of the three sects were of high birth, and had received the best conditions from the moment they were born. Furthermore, they were bound to have received excellent training, and their physical qualities were far superior to those of their peers. Father Chen sighed repeatedly. Zhang Pingru, the son of Tyrant Earth Sect's leader Zhang Diji, was only 8 years old, but he was stronger than some of the 11 or 12-year-old kids in their dojo. The more superior a rich second-generation kid's family background was, the more education and effort they were likely to have received from a young age than ordinary people. There was a good saying, "Don't be afraid of other people having more money or being born into a higher family. What you were afraid of was having more money, being born into a higher family, and working harder than you." Father Chen was deeply shaken by this, and at the same time, it stimulated the young hearts of Super Chen and Wang Xiaoling, these two 4-year-old kids. That night, Father Chen called Xiaoling's mom, the three sect young masters and the accompanying bodyguard to a restaurant for dinner. Mother Chen was busy in the back kitchen. It wasn't appropriate to order takeout on this occasion, so she thought of making some home-cooked dishes for them to eat. The three young masters originally had other training in the evening, but when they heard that it was Father Chen's invitation, Zhang Daji and the others in the fan group instantly agreed. In fact, this was all for Wang Situ's sake. Since Father Wang had won the title of Best Author, Wet Nurse had attracted widespread attention in the cultivation forum, and the sect leaders of all the major sects were probing the mysteries of the book, as if they were reading a research report. Before dinner, everyone was sitting at the table nibbling on melon seeds. The three young masters from the three sects still sat very obediently, which made Father Chen feel the gap between their upbringing and that of others. But Father Chen wasn't anxious. Besides, Super Chen was only 4 years old, and was at the age when he was lively. After all, children were born this way. "Thank you, everyone." Xiaoling's mother thanked them profusely. To be honest, Xiaoling's mom was already mentally prepared for Tiger Liang to cause trouble today. The burly bodyguard whom Zhang Deji had sent was called Zhu Jin. Some people called him Little Zhu, while others called him Ah Jin. Zhu Jin smiled slightly and said, "Xiaoling's mom doesn't need to worry anymore. That brat has already received the lesson he deserves." Our three young masters didn't do anything this time. They just gave him a little punishment. Oh my God. You call this a little punishment? That Tiger Liang is too miserable. Superchen slapped his thigh. Recalling Tiger Liang's miserable state at noon, he couldn't help laughing. Miserable. Indeed miserable. He had been sent flying with a kick at the very beginning, and it was as if he had been tossed a ball in the air for a whole 5 minutes before he fell. Tiger Liang's lackeys hadn't been of any help at all. When they saw the three young masters in this state, they had all scattered on the spot. That kid asked for it. Instead of learning what was good, he insisted on making trouble. And that father of his who instigated him behind the scenes is also despicable. Father Chen said unhappily, "Thank you, Chief Chen, but I'm afraid Liang Heng won't let it go." Xiaoling's mom had a worried expression on her face. She hugged Wang Xiaoling next to her tightly, feeling that her daughter seemed to have gotten to know her a little better and had put on some weight. "I know Xiaoling's mom. I know his personality too well." Father Chen nodded. "You don't need to worry," Zhu Jin said. "Our three sect leaders have already sent lawyer letters to Balance Magic Center. If Chief Liang knows what's good for him, he won't come looking for trouble for the time being." Lawyer letters? Father Chen was blank. That's right. After all, our three young masters were all injured at the same time, said Zhu Jin. "Where are they injured?" asked Father Chen. "It's fine, they're just minor injuries." Jin sipped his tea and said, "I used too much force when I hit Tiger Liang, and my fingernails cracked." Super Chen suddenly burst out laughing. Father Chen and Xiaoling's mom were utterly shocked by Tyrant Earth Sect's operation. It was clearly Tiger Liang who had been beaten up, but in the end, the Liang family had received lawyer letters instead. There was actually this kind of operation? In response, Jin also laughed. There's no such thing as absolute fairness in this world. It had to be said that Super Chen was very good at socializing. In the span of a meal he had become familiar with the three young masters, and they had even exchanged contact information. Although the three young masters were strong, Super Chen had his own strong point, and that was that he was becoming more and more eloquent. After all, he had been pursuing the art of language all this time. Father Chen was very happy about this. It was a rare opportunity to communicate with peers who were more skilled than him. Furthermore, the schedules of the three young masters were usually very full, and Super Chen had grasped this opportunity very well. Super Chen roughly compared his plan for the day with that of the three young masters from the three sects. And only then did he realize that he really paled in comparison. The number of lessons the three young masters had to learn in a day was more than Super Chen could have imagined. In particular, that 8-year-old Zhang Pingru was busy from 6 in the morning until 2 in the morning the next day, and only had 4 hours of sleep a day. Magic logical thinking, body technique training, dodging and agility training, spirit chi breathing training. Lessons big and small ran through his day. Before Jin took him away, Father Chen was surprised to see that Super Chen was actually wearing a young master's suit. It was a little too big, and Super Chen was still holding up the trousers and sleeves. "Super Chen, why are you wearing Pingru's clothes?" Pingru suggested it. "He likes the Taoist clothes in our restaurant, so I found one that fits him and swapped with him," Super Chen said. "You're so coquettish," Father Chen said. "If the young master likes it, then let's swap. You must groom Head Chen's son well. His root bone is actually pretty good. Our sect has some unique bone-strengthening pills. Sect head is busy today and couldn't come, so this is a gift. Someone will deliver it to you in 2 days. Chief Chen, please don't treat me like an outsider." Jin also smiled. "Thank you, Page." As soon as Father Chen said this, he suddenly realized that something was wrong. He had wanted to call him Little Zhu, but for some reason his brain had gone haywire, and he had said the wrong name. "Sorry, Jin." "It's fine, Chief Chen, I'm already used to it. So people generally still like to call me Jin. Little Zhu makes it easy to associate it with other places." Chapter 966. Balance Magic Center was facing an unprecedented crisis of opening for business. Liang Heng's current situation could almost be described as irreparable. When Tiger Liang was brought back, he was already like a dumpling, but fortunately he was still conscious. The young masters of the three sects hadn't been too ruthless with Tiger Liang, and hadn't directly damaged his brain. But Liang Heng felt like he was about to break down. "Chini, I'm not done with you." Liang Heng gripped Tiger Liang's hand tightly. Tiger Liang was so badly injured that he couldn't even speak, but he knew that taking this matter to the cultivation court might not be of any use. The three sect leaders' lawyers had already sent letters to his Balance Magic Center, and the only way out was to admit defeat. There didn't seem to be any other way. At that moment, there was a knock on the door. When Liang Heng opened the door, he was shocked to see who it was. A balding middle-aged man with a big belly was standing at the door, smoking a cigarette with a melancholy look on his face. Guru Zhuge? He didn't know that Zhuge had already terminated his contract with the Cultivation Reading Network, and this name made Zhuge's liver hurt a little. Liang Heng and Zhuge had previously met at an offline fan meet and greet, and only the top 20 fans on the fan rankings had the right to attend. "It seems you're not in a good situation either." Zhuge laughed coldly. When he saw Liang Heng's melancholy and frustrated expression, he suddenly understood what had happened. The reason why the website had terminated his contract was actually because of the pressure from the sect leaders behind the scenes. Although Chief Huang hadn't said much to him, Zhuge had still contacted some internal staff after terminating the contract, and got a general understanding of the situation. Zhuge stuffed a box of black toad bone-strengthening powder into Liang Heng's hands. "I know your son is injured. Please accept this as a token of my appreciation." "You're too kind, Teacher Zhuge." Liang Heng accepted the gift. His son had broken bones all over his body, so this gift was just right. Liang Heng thought that Zhuge had done his homework before coming here. He actually knew everything about Tiger Liang's injuries. The two of them sat across from each other in the dojo. After a moment of silence, Zhuge spoke first. "The Cultivation Reading Network has terminated my contract." Liang Heng was a little confused. "Why?" "Yes, it's because of pressure from a certain party." Zhuge did not reveal that he was Lady 13. Actually, he didn't want to hide this matter. But if he did, then Liang Heng would probably guess that he had cross-dressed to disguise himself as Lady 13. For Zhuge, it was a very shameful thing, and a little disgusting when he thought about it. No one could imagine a fat otaku with a beer belly wearing a Lolita dress and not being able to fit in, right? At that time, Zhuge remembered that as soon as he put one hand out of the sling, the oversized Lolita evening gown was torn to shreds on the spot. "Don't tell me it's also the sex pressure?" Liang Heng was very smart. He saw that Zhu Ji's expression was a little off, and quickly thought of this possibility. In comparison, the fathers of the three young masters who had stood up for Xiaoling's mother this time were also fans of Wang Situ's side. It was normal for Liang Heng to connect the dots. "Songhai City, I'll move out tomorrow. After that, I'll be the chief of a small newspaper in a small place." Zhuge said faintly as he took a drag on his cigarette and stared at Liang Heng. Liang Heng gritted his teeth. "Guru Zhuge, don't you feel indignant? Everything you've worked so hard for has been taken away from you. Every dog has its day, there's nothing to be indignant about." Zhuge sneered. Then he took out a USB from his pocket. "This is something that one of my fans sent to me by express." "What's this?" Liang Heng stared at the USB. "He said that there's something inside that can help me turn over." I opened it and took a look. "There's only a curse software inside," Zhuge said. "Curse? It was probably developed by someone in the demonic path. How do you do it? Does it cost money?" "I've never come into contact with someone in the demonic path, but they can't be bothered to pursue worldly things like money." I opened it and took a look. "The payment method for the curse is one's lifespan." Zhuge smiled. "So this thing is basically useless to me. My health isn't good to begin with, and because of my writing, I've been sedentary for a long time. Not only do I have 3 highs, I also have a fatty liver. Even if I use the best health supplements in this era, if I don't lose weight, I'll die in 100 years. Hearing this, Liang Heng fell silent. Putting aside whether this curse is real or not, even if it is, I'll lose dozens of years of my lifespan to bring the other party down for the sake of my revenge. The losses outweigh the gains. In the end, both sides will suffer, and even I don't have many years left to live. Saying this, Zhu Gu sighed. Liang Heng gripped the USB. As he listened to Zhu Ji's words, he felt a little sad. This was the first time he had lost to Chen Yi, which made him feel extremely uncomfortable. At the thought of Tiger Liang's miserable appearance wrapped in bandages, he wanted nothing more than to bite the Chen father and son to death. After that, Liang Heng opened some beer and made some side dishes to go with it. The two of them chatted for a while over beer in the restaurant. While he was drinking, Liang Heng used the laptop on the side to open the USB flash drive and copied the file to his computer. His movements were swift. The two men drank and ate. After about half an hour or so, Zhu Gu looked at the sky. It's almost time. I should go, Chief Liang. Zhu Gu got up from the ground. His body was so huge that it looked strenuous to move. Liang Heng wanted to go over to help him, but Zhu Gu waved his hand and braced himself to get up from the ground. Chief Liang, please return the USB to me. Okay. After seeing Zhu Gu off, the first thing Liang Heng did was open the copy of the software. Everything was as Zhu Gu had said. This was a cursing software with a scary page. After opening it, the computer screen was immediately covered by a pop-up window, and the image that came into view was that of a Grim Reaper holding a scythe. There was a name box on the Grim Reaper's tongue. It was noted that one only needed to think of that person's appearance and enter their real name. The price of the curse method was also clearly marked on the software. Liang Heng opened the menu and glanced at it. Mild curse, 1 year of lifespan. Moderate curse, 5 years of lifespan. Severe curse, 8 years of lifespan. Super curse, 10 years of lifespan. Quadruple curse deluxe package, 20 years of lifespan. In addition to the above-marked curses, Liang Heng also saw that in the upper right corner of the page, there was an entrance for topping up one's lifespan. One only needed to hold the mouse and silently recite the number to complete the top-up. Seeing this, Liang Heng smiled sinisterly. Although business in his dojo was not as good as before these days, but there were many students. Chapter 967. Was he going to cast a curse on his students? Liang Heng instantly came up with this plan. Although it wasn't very kind, he had no other choice. He still had Tiger Liang to take care of, a wife and children, and an old mother, and he was already old. But the students were different. They were young and had a long life ahead of them. Even if some of it was taken away, it should be fine, right? Thinking this, evil thoughts sprang up in Liang Heng's mind, and a shadow gathered in his heart. But whether this thing would work or not, Liang Heng felt that he still had to give it a try first. He typed Father Chen's name into the name box on the death god's tongue, and finally chose the mild curse option. Very quickly, the death god waved its scythe on the computer screen, and the entire screen was instantly stained with blood. Liang Heng felt his mental strength fall into a trance for a few seconds. When he came back to his senses, the death god had already curled up its long tongue, and a string of words appeared on the computer screen at the same time. In progress, it was actually true. Liang Heng examined his body in disbelief. Indeed, in that split second just now, his physical condition had deteriorated a little, as if he had aged. Even his skin had become a little loose. After all, middle-aged people had to persevere in cultivation every day and do a lot of exercise to maintain their bodies. Just now, a year of his lifespan had been taken away, and the side effects of lifesteal were directly reflected on him. If this was used on his students, he was afraid that his students would become seriously ill. But Liang Heng wasn't unhappy. On the contrary, he felt very happy now. Thanks to Zhu Gu, he had actually found this method to help him achieve this magnificent reversal. Around the same time on the second day, when Liang Heng checked the cursing software again, a video that was a few minutes long was sent to his inbox. Liang Heng clicked it open, and saw that the person in the video was actually Father Chen. Although he wasn't sure how the person who had taken the video had been able to do it at such a close distance without being discovered, Liang Heng still watched the video carefully from beginning to end, not missing a single minute. It should be said that this was a compilation of Father Chen's bad luck from the day. At 7 o'clock in the morning, Father Chen arrived at the dojo's entrance, and saw that it had actually been sprayed with the word demolish in big red spray paint. What's going on? Father Chen was stupefied by the huge demolition pattern in front of him. He touched the red spray paint. This spray paint was waterproof and would not wash off easily. This time he would have to spend a large sum of money to tear down the sliding doors of the dojo and reinstall them. Even if he filed a complaint against the paint worker and received compensation, it would take a few months for him to go through the complaint process. But what made Father Chen feel even more despair was that next to the word dismantle, a few smaller words had been sprayed. Sorry, I sprayed it wrong. Father Chen. Liang Heng. This was the first part of the video. Like Father Chen in the video, Liang Heng, who was sitting in front of the computer and watching the video, was silent for a long time. He did not know why. Liang Heng wanted to laugh, but this was just the beginning of Father Chen's cursed bad day. The second scene was at noon. When Father Chen was eating fish, a fish bone actually got stuck in his throat, and he was sent straight to the hospital. The video Liang Heng received showed a doctor taking out the fish bone for Father Chen. The doctor used a pair of forceps to remove the bone, which was still stained with blood from Father Chen's throat. How dangerous! If you had come a little later, this fish bone would have pierced your throat. In the operating room, Father Chen felt wronged. Because the fish bone had just been taken out, his voice was still very hoarse. But doctor, I bought a scaleless boneless fish. This type of fish was very popular in the market. As its name suggested, scaleless and boneless, both adults and children could eat it, and its meat was delicious. Logically speaking, it was absolutely impossible for this type of fish to eat fish bones. Is the fish you bought fresh? The meat is a little old. Then you probably don't know, but you have to buy young and middle-aged scaleless fish in the market. This type of fish isn't boneless, it's just that their bones are very soft when they're young and middle-aged. When they eat it, it's like they don't have bones. It's a pity that you bought an old one. Is there a problem with the old fish? Father Chen shivered. Of course the old fish can be eaten, but the one you bought has bone hyperplasia, the doctor replied. Father Chen. The last 2 minutes of the 6-minute video were of Father Chen on his way back from the hospital. Father Chen's taxi had just reached an intersection not far from the dojo, when a truck carrying steel bars unexpectedly went out of control and crashed into Father Chen's taxi head-on. Fortunately, the driver was an experienced driver who had quick wits in the nick of time. Anticipating the truck's out-of-control trajectory, he slammed on the accelerator and sped up. With a whirlwind charge, he directly overtook the truck and stopped in a safe area up ahead. The truck carrying the steel bars crashed into the divider on the side of the road, and white smoke started to rise from the front of the truck. I'm really unlucky today. In the video, Father Chen looked behind him with lingering fear, his expression clearly a little fearful. But in front of the screen, Liang Heng was overjoyed. He had only used up a year of his lifespan, and was about to kill Father Chen. Liang Heng was overjoyed at the thrill of this under-the-table manipulation. Because of his curse yesterday, his opponent Chun Yi had actually been cursed for real. Not only had Father Chen been unlucky for a whole day, he had almost died. One had to know that this was only a mild curse. Liang Heng was excited. He wondered what the effect would be if it was a moderate curse. Liang Heng raised an eyebrow. Staring at the completed order in the curse software, he couldn't calm down for a long time. After seeing Father Chen's unlucky day, Liang Heng felt that he couldn't wait any longer. Let me see what a moderate curse will do. Liang Heng was very excited. A mild curse had already almost killed Father Chen. Wouldn't a moderate curse leave him half dead? Liang Heng thought for a while. Then he typed a brand new name on the curse software's death god tongue, Super Chen. His goal actually wasn't to kill Chen Yi, but to make him feel pain. But if he cursed Super Chen as a father, Chen Yi would definitely suffer even more. Liang Heng felt that he was too quick-witted. Chapter 968. After that day, Super Chen fell seriously ill. The cause of this illness was a fever. Because he had been training since a young age, Super Chen had always had a good physique. This sudden fever, which caught Father and Mother Chen off guard, left them flustered for a moment. There were a lot of people at the children's hospital, and it was normal for flu to change seasons. Neither Father Chen nor Madam Chen thought much of it at this time. No parents would associate their child's fever with a curse. On the way, Xiaoling changed the heat dissipation tape for him and took good care of him. Father Chen hadn't thought of letting Xiaoling come along at first, but the two children were too close. Furthermore, after taking care of Xiaoling during this time, Father Chen realized that while Wang Xiaoling was mute, she was also a stubborn girl. Once you've decided on something, it's hard to change it. But because she was worried that Xiaoling would also be infected, Xiaoling also made sufficient preparations under Madame Chen's careful guidance. For the past 2 days, the Chen family's meals revolved around the indigofra root. Radix isatidis noodle soup, radix isatidis egg stew, radix isatidis black tea, etc. There's no need for so many people to enter. You guys wait at the door. After the number was called, Father Chen carried the weak Super Chen into the clinic, which made the surrounding parents raise their eyebrows and make way for them. Poor child. This season's flu is not bad, but this child fainted from a fever. His physique is too weak. Seeing Super Chen's pitiful appearance, many people looked at him sympathetically. Most of the people here were parents, so they knew how anxious parents were in such situations. Father Chen had called for a specialist, and from the information on the door, this specialist was a famous doctor called Lu Min. He specialized in treating difficult and complicated diseases of children, and he was the chief specialist of the internal medicine department of this hospital. Seeing Father Chen come in with Super Chen on his back, the doctor couldn't help looking anxious. Lu Min had seen a lot of children today, but this was the first one to faint from a fever. Have you taken your temperature? How high is it? 42 degrees, and it's getting hotter and hotter. Yes, the situation is quite serious. But don't worry, I can cure him. Dr. Lu Min was very confident. Thank you, doctor. Father Chen was slightly relieved. It's just a small problem. There was one with a fever of more than 70 degrees. 70 degrees. Yes, and that child's parents are also very open-minded. Fry an egg on a child's forehead. I'll cool him down first. Dr. Lu cleaned his hands, and then touched Super Chen's forehead. An azure light shone from his palm. This was the heat dissipation technique. This was just a basic spell. In fact, many cultivators could cast it, but this spell relied on basic skills and required a long period of cultivation. If one was not a professional doctor, most people could only temporarily suppress the effects of this spell. However, professional doctors like Dr. Lu were different. When they cast this kind of magic, they could completely suppress it. While casting the spell, Dr. Lu was also observing the scale on the sickbed. This sickbed was a scientific cultivation artifact jointly launched by the Academy of Magical Treasures. It could monitor the various physical conditions of the patients lying on it, saving the patients the pain of running around the hospital. It could be seen that after Dr. Lu cast the spell, Super Chen's temperature had dropped from 42 degrees Celsius to 39 degrees Celsius. But this was still not a normal human body temperature. No, the temperature won't go down. Dr. Lu shook his head. Is it a viral cold? Based on my experience, it definitely isn't. Dr. Lu said. Does your child cultivate any special cultivation technique? Special cultivation technique? Yes. Dr. Lu nodded and said. Some parents nowadays are too harsh on their children's cultivation before they reach the foundation establishment stage. They make their children pursue advanced cultivation techniques, but forget whether they're suitable for cultivation or not. If they're not compatible with the cultivation technique, they'll also have this abnormal fever. After hearing this, Father Chen immediately rejected it. My child's health has always been very good. Our family runs a body techniques dojo, and I've always had my child cultivate the most basic physique without pursuing any advanced cultivation techniques. After dismissing the possibility of Super Chen cultivating a special cultivation technique, Dr. Lu frowned. When did your child start to have a fever? It should have been in the wee hours of this morning, but it was already 6 o'clock when I found out. That's his training time. It wasn't until I went to his room that I realized he had a fever. Father Chen sighed and grabbed Super Chen's hand. Dr. Lu, if you know anything, please tell me. Your child's health is actually very good. From my examination, This abnormal fever can already be ruled out as an internal cause. But an external cause, that's out of my control, Dr. Lu Min said solemnly. Do you have any enemies? Enemies? Father Chen was stunned. At that moment he suddenly thought of Liang Heng. But Father Chen still didn't dare believe that Liang Heng would do something like this, that he would lay his hands on his child. What was more, this was just a guess at the moment. Even if Liang Heng did it, Father Chen currently had no evidence. Dr. Lu, is this the cause of the curse? Yes. Judging from various factors, I suspect that your child's abnormal fever might be due to a curse. Our hospital also has a curse dispelling department, but the curse on your child is a little complicated. Given that we don't know what kind of curse it is, it will take at least 2 days to dispel it, but these 2 days will delay the child's condition. Then what should I do? Father Chen was anxious. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Dr. Lu grit her teeth. She directly wrote a bunch of words in the medical record book that Father Chen couldn't understand, and then stamped it with her own seal. Take this medical record book and look for my Shifu in the western part of the city. He might have a way. Please believe me. Your child's illness can't be dragged on like this. Super Chen's temperature is now at 39 degrees, but this is only temporary. You have to take advantage of this time to get there. Dr. Lu's Shifu? Good. Thank you, Dr. Lu. Father Chen was shaken by Dr. Lu's appraising gaze. Now that things had come to this, he could only believe her. About 2 hours later, Father Chen followed the address Dr. Lu had given him and found the place. This was a Buddhist temple that had a slightly aged feel to it. Based on Dr. Lu's handwriting and seal in the medical record book, he found Dr. Lu's Shifu. This was a kind-looking monk whose hair and beard were already grizzled. Draped in a kasaya, he carried Super Chen over and said softly, Umitba. Umitba, which devil cast this curse on such a young child? It's really demented. Master, please save my child. Don't worry, benefactor. The Zen master nodded. Then Father Chen saw him flick Super Chen's forehead with the flower-picking finger. A golden Buddhist light surged out and rushed out of the black chi inside Super Chen's body. Then the Zen master wiped his sweat. Don't worry. Your child is fine now. Father Chen was skeptical. That's it. The Zen master. It's fine now, benefactor. I've already blessed your child. Father Chen. Chapter 969. Blessed. Father Chen was stupefied by the master's words. In all his years of living, this was the first time he had heard that a person could be blessed. I generally don't do this for people, but this child's situation is special. Saving a life is better than building a 7-storied pagoda. As for the cost, there's no need. The master smiled and said, when your child has fully recovered, I hope you can bring your family to the temple to cultivate with me for half a month. Father Chen touched Super Chen's forehead. Although Super Chen still looked very weak, he indeed no longer had a fever. Master Jin Deng's full-body blessed spell just now had indeed dispelled the curse. Father Chen had a respectful expression on his face. May I ask for Master's name? This old monk's Buddhist name is Jin Deng. Master Jin Deng said in a clear voice. I didn't ask you to come here to cultivate with me for you to work for me. Instead, I predicted that in the next 15 days, the villain behind you will attack you again. Although my monastery is a little run down, it can ward off villains and turn misfortune into fortune. Thank you, Master. Father Chen nodded solemnly. This was too strange. Super Chen, who had always been in good health, had suddenly caught a cold, and when he went to the hospital, they couldn't find out what was wrong with him. In the end, it turned out that he had been cursed. If it hadn't been for that Dr. Lu and this Master Jin Deng, Super Chen might have died from this curse this time. Thinking this, Father Chen couldn't help breaking out in a cold sweat. Liang Heng. Apart from this scheming and competitive senior brother of his, Father Chen really couldn't think of anyone he knew who would do such a vicious thing. Father Chen never expected that Liang Heng would actually disregard even the slightest bit of brotherly camaraderie. You can't delay your cultivation. If you can come tomorrow, that would be the best. Before he left, Master Jin Deng gave Father Chen one last word. Thank you, Master. I'll come tomorrow after I've sorted things out. Father Chen nodded. After that, Father Chen's job was to persuade Mother Chen. Father Chen was also very worried about Xiaoling's mom, so he persuaded her and Xiaoling to come to the temple to cultivate together. Contrary to Father Chen's expectations, his persuasion was quite successful. Because Father Chen was an atheist to begin with, he had never prayed to Buddha. Now that he had suddenly come up with the idea of quiet cultivation, and his attitude was so serious and earnest, Madame Chen and Xiaoling's mom were instantly intimidated. Master Jin Deng. Before Madame Chen retired to become a housewife, she was in charge of the census. She chewed the name over and over again, feeling that the monk's Buddhist name was a little familiar. On the first day of their retreat, Father Chen took Super Chen, Madame Chen, Xiaoling's mom and Xiaoling to this old Zen temple. The Body Techniques dojo was closed for the time being. Father Chen had informed the students in advance that they were going on a holiday, and to prevent losing students during this period, he gave each student 2 extra classes. Shutting down for half a month actually had a huge impact on the Chen family's income. But his health was more important. Even if they knew that Liang Heng was the one who cast the curse, they didn't know how Liang Heng cast the curse or how to block it. Fortunately, Master Jin Deng pointed them in the right direction. Benefactors, this room is reserved for you. I hope that you can cultivate yourselves and live happily for the next half a month. A little monk led them to a courtyard house inside the Zen temple. Father Chen saw that it wasn't just them. There were also other people here for quiet cultivation. Thank you, little master. Father Chen also bowed. Oh, by the way, where is Master? Shifu is giving a lecture in the main hall. This is his daily program, today's sermon. If you're interested, you can listen in. The little monk smiled. Today's sermon. Father Chen felt that the name sounded a little familiar. Master Jin Deng was responsible for arranging the classes for the retreat. Since Master Jin Deng was giving a lecture at the moment, Father Chen and the others naturally didn't want to disturb him, so he led them to the main hall to listen in. There were also a lot of people in the audience. They found a cushion on the side and sat down cross-legged to listen with great interest. It was only later that Father Chen learned that people came to Master Jin Deng's Zen temple regularly for quiet cultivation. During this period, they could stay as long as they wanted as long as they paid for utilities and accommodation. Furthermore, the accommodation was very cheap. There were a lot of believers in this Golden Lamp Zen temple. From this, it could be seen that Master Jin Deng was indeed a capable person. Every day, a lot of people came to listen in on the today's sermon segment, and a lot of people came to ask questions. Some of the people asking questions were disciples who were meditating in the Zen yard. They would come to ask questions when they had doubts, while others came from afar to ask for guidance. They asked all kinds of questions and asked all kinds of questions. Someone, a bald programmer, asked, Master Jin Deng. The day before yesterday, 2 options suddenly popped up on my computer, telling me to either install a computer patch or choose to skip it. I don't know what to do. Is this a reminder from some security software? Master Jin Deng smiled slightly. Master, you have incredible foresight. This is a pop-up notification from 360 security guard. Master, please explain what I should do. Benefactor, you're mistaken. In fact, you can choose 3. Uninstall 360 security guard. Master is wise. Everyone. The second person to ask a question was a woman who was meditating in the Zen temple. Father Chen heard that she had been waiting in line for a long time, and it was only her turn today. When it was finally her turn to ask a question, the woman's eyes were full of tears. Master, my son doesn't think about improving himself all day long, and wants to become an idol. What should I do? Become an idol? Most children nowadays have this idea, but little do they know that this line of work runs deep and can't be set foot in easily. Master Jin Deng sighed. Master is right, but my son won't listen. The woman was a little helpless. How about this? I'll write you a poem, and you can put it on your son's bedside. The woman asked, what poem? Master Jin Deng took out a page of golden paper and wrote as he said. To become an idol, hair parted in the middle, fancy dribbling a little dizzy, smoky makeup, hand cream, panic when playing basketball, overalls, height shoes, a bow at the waist, can sing, can dance, can't tell male from female. Okay, this is the poem. The woman. Master, you're so strong, everyone. Master, you're amazing. Master, you're amazing, Master Jean Deng laughed. I've summed up the current situation of boys becoming idols. I reckon that your son shouldn't be very old, and this is the best age for him to study. If he studies hard and attentively, he's bound to have a great career in the future. As a person, one should always be down to earth. Chapter 970. Liang Heng received another video, but this time, it was accompanied by a very official-looking notice. The notice was as follows: Dear user, thank you for ordering the curse service again. This time, the curse service is a medium curse service. Because the curse process was obstructed by someone, it has not been completed. According to the curse service regulations, the curse service wouldn't be refunded if there was an obstruction in the middle of the process, unless the caster was hit by an earthquake, a tsunami, or some other force majeure. Liang Heng. This was a little unfair. Liang Heng opened the video and found that the new video this time was often extremely short, even shorter than the videos uploaded by the Up Master of Bilibili, the world's largest pigeon breeding site. And most importantly, in order to make up for the length of the video this time, there was even a freaking opening and ending. This video was of Father Chen taking care of Super Chen, and then carrying him to the children's hospital. The video stopped abruptly at the hospital, and turned into a small, unreadable snowflake. Someone obstructed the curse? Liang Heng checked the notice on the software repeatedly. He had inadvertently obtained the curse software from Zhu Ge, and his first experiment had been very successful. How could the other party have sensed it? Could it be that an expert had helped him? Liang Heng thought of this possibility. At that moment, the software's prompt sounded. This was the second notice from the curse software, which said, Considering the strength of the person who has dispelled the curse, it is recommended that you use an advanced curse or a set curse. Liang Heng. Dear, do you want a card? Add up 10 years of your lifespan to become a member, and you can enjoy a 20% discount. Liang Heng. 10 years, only 20%. This is a discount for primary members. Dear, you can also consider adding up for 50 years. This is the price of the highest diamond membership. You can enjoy a 50% discount. Furthermore, we'll throw in a special curse service. This special curse service will make a person forever play basketball like. Wasn't this a little too vicious? Although the system notice didn't directly mention a name, Liang Heng could already guess who it was. To be honest, Liang Heng was a little tempted by such a vicious special service. But not everyone could take 50 years of their lifespan in one go. Liang Heng had previously calculated his lifespan, and he could live up to 200 years. Now, including the lifespan he had used in the curse software, he only had about 100 years left. The first time, Liang Heng had lost a year of his lifespan, which made him feel a sense of fatigue. The second time, Liang Heng had lost 5 years of his lifespan, and his hair had turned white overnight. These were all stress reactions after his lifespan was absorbed. If 50 years were taken away in one go, he would probably not be able to move anymore. Liang Heng was worried. Suddenly, he thought of the more vicious method he had thought of before, and that was to ask his students for help. The students didn't know about the curse software anyway. All he had to do was use some tricks to trick them into clicking the mouse. Crowdfunding longevity. Liang Heng confirmed his next plan. Elsewhere, Super Chen felt a little bored as he cultivated in the monastery. He didn't even know why he had come here to cultivate, and when he woke up, he was already in the temple. After the consecration was undone, the memory before and after the fever would be affected, and it might cause amnesia. Master Jean Deng had already spoken to Father Chen about this. But amnesia was one thing, it wasn't harmful to the body. But Super Chen still wanted to figure out what on earth had happened last night. Xiaoling's mom had told him that he had had a terrible fever, but she hadn't said a single thing about the specifics, which made Super Chen feel very aggrieved. Bringing him to the Zen temple in one fell swoop, without anything on him. Even if he could spend his energy on cultivation during the day, He felt that he would really die at night without an ebook, a game console, or Wi-Fi. How could modern people survive without Wi-Fi? Wang Xiaoling followed him without saying a word. Super Chen knew that Wang Xiaoling had a rough idea of what had happened. But the problem was that Wang Xiaoling couldn't speak, and couldn't even recognize all the words. It was probably impossible for her to write them down. At that moment, Super Chen thought of an idea. Draw and I'll guess. If she couldn't write, she could draw, right? So Super Chen found a pen and paper, found an empty space in the backyard, and started to play this game with Wang Xiaoling. Super Chen said to Xiaoling, "Xiaoling, let's play. You draw and I'll guess. Draw what happened yesterday and tell me. If I guess right, you nod, and if I guess wrong, you shake your head." Wang Xiaoling nodded. She drew several pictures in a row, and then labeled them with numbers. The first picture was the logo of Balance Magic Center. Wang Xiaoling wanted to tell Super Chen that it was all because of the curse of the director of Balance Magic Center. Wang Xiaoling didn't know about this at first, but last night, in order to convince her mother to come to the monastery with them, Father Chen told her everything from the beginning to the end. On the side, Xiaoling also heard it quietly. In the second picture, Wang Xiaoling drew a picture of a flame. She wanted to tell Super Chen that he had a fever last night. In the third picture, there was a hospital cross. To show that this was a hospital, Wang Xiaoling even added 120 next to the cross. In the fourth picture, Wang Xiaoling drew a bald head wearing a red boxing glove who smashed a skull. The skull represented the curse, and the bald head represented Master Jin Ding, who had blessed Super Chen with light. Super Chen was stunned by such a clear composition and logical drawing line. He had never expected Xiaoling to actually have a talent for drawing. In the fourth picture, wasn't this teacher Saitama's fight with the Bone King? At this point, the drawing was complete. Wang Xiaoling put down her pen and felt relieved. She was actually very confident in her drawing ability because she couldn't speak. At the garbage station, she often used the discarded pens that other people had thrown away to study her drawing skills. But Wang Xiaoling wasn't sure whether Super Chen had understood it or not. Staring at the four pictures, Super Chen first praised Wang Xiaoling for a long time, then laughed out loud. "Ha ha ha. Xiaoling, I didn't expect you to draw so well. After looking at these four pictures, I understand everything. Your first and second pictures told me that Balance Magic Center was on fire. My dad called 120. The reason for the fire was that there were weapons of mass destruction hidden in Balance Magic Center, but that Director Liang refused to admit it. In the end, for some reason, an eminent monk in this monastery made a move and blew up the weapon with one punch." As soon as Super Chen finished speaking, in the distance, in the direction of Balance Magic Center, there was a boom. A mushroom cloud rose from the ground. Chapter 971. That night, the news of the big explosion at Balance Magic Center spread like wildfire. Liang Heng was getting his just desserts. Father Chen didn't know what had happened, but he felt strangely relieved. "Oh my God, you don't know what a huge mushroom cloud it was. Luckily, there was no one around, otherwise it would have been terrible." "How did it explode?" "I heard it was a laptop that exploded. The batteries made in Bowen overheated and exploded." "Then how did a mushroom cloud appear?" "There are some laptops on the market now that are manufactured according to magic treasure configurations. They all use spirit cores to generate electricity, and can last for decades without needing to be recharged. But Chief Liang's laptop seems to have hit the jackpot. There was a problem with the quality of the spirit cores, and it was recalled. Chief Liang might have been too busy to pay attention, and now it exploded." Spirit cores themselves were energy crystals made from highly dense spirit power molecules. The principle was similar to that of General Yi's palm sword and the Old Devil's chaos ball, which used techniques to compress spirit power. But the fact that this kind of technology could be put on the market proved that it was already very sophisticated. Generally speaking, there was a 99% chance that it wouldn't explode, which was equivalent to a plane crash or winning the lottery. So Chief Liang had hit the jackpot. Furthermore, he had hit the jackpot. Through Wang Xiaoling's eyes, Wang Ling witnessed Super Chen's memory. Wang Ling remembered that there had indeed been this piece of news back then. But he never thought that the big explosion back then would actually be because Super Chen had blessed his mouth. It had to be said that this Master Jin Dang was a little strong. He had only blessed his entire body once, but he could actually do this. There were a lot of strange things in the world to begin with, and Wang Ling felt that taking himself as an example, was there anything more bizarre than being born invincible? It could only be said that Master Jin Dang was an enigmatic and eccentric person with lofty ideas. Given Master Jin Dang's methods and abilities, Wang Ling felt that as long as the other party wanted to, it shouldn't be difficult for him to establish himself in the cultivation world. But in the end he still ran his shabby Zen temple, used his wisdom to enlighten others, and lived a low-key and ordinary life. This kind of realm was worth learning from. After returning from meditation in the monastery, Father Chen asked a few students about Liang Heng. Apparently, Liang Heng was in a very miserable state. He had been right in the middle of the explosion, and his body was burned to an extent of 85%. A naughty parent who taught his own child fireball skills to bully others, but in the end he was injured by a huge mushroom bomb. It was a tragic ending. After the explosion, the residents of the entire street were alarmed and came to put out the fire. Every household sent out water talismans through the air, and it was the annual drama of Jinshan being flooded. Later, the nearby fire department and ambulance arrived in time, and the fire was completely under control. Liang Heng was also rescued. Chief Liang is so tragic. In class that day, a student told Father Chen about Chief Liang with lingering fear. He had already visited him, so he knew Liang Heng's situation better. Actually, the main reason for the visit wasn't because they cared about Liang Heng, but because the students were more curious about the extent of Director Liang's burns. Chief Liang, how's the situation? Father Chen said. I'm wondering if I should bring a fruit basket to visit him. No matter how bad Liang Heng was, he was still a senior brother from the same sect. Besides, he had suffered retribution this time, and Father Chen felt that it would be very difficult for him to stir up trouble again. Teacher Chen, it's better if you don't bring anything. I also brought a fruit basket yesterday, but when I got there, I realized that he couldn't eat it at all. Chief Liang's entire body had been burned to a mummy. A mummy? That's right. The doctor said that for some reason, Chief Liang's organs had aged very badly. Otherwise, his injuries might have been lighter. I went over to take a look after the explosion. When Chief Liang was carried into the car, it seemed like all his nails had been burned away. You really looked carefully. You're staring at my crotch. Chief Liang has been saved now, but he'll still be disabled in the future. His organs were so badly damaged that they were all artificial. Medical insurance can't cover all of this, and it'll probably take a lot of time for Chief Liang to pay off his medical bills later. Father Chen didn't sleep very late that night. After thinking for a long time, he still decided to raise some donations for Liang Heng on the cultivation forum. Liang Heng had already suffered retribution, but his wife and child shouldn't be implicated. When Father Chen saw in his WeChat moments that Liang Heng's wife was arranging to sell the property, he couldn't bear to do it. Liang Heng's medical bills were sky-high. Even if he sold all the money he had earned from taking in students over the past few years and all his property, it still wouldn't be enough. If he tried to get insurance from the computer company to settle the claims, they would have done a recall before. From a legal perspective, it wasn't like the computer company hadn't paid attention to this batch of problematic products. The Liang family is going to have a hard time in the future. Father Chen sighed. Watching his rival of many years collapse just like that, about to die of old age in the wind, Father Chen actually felt a little emotional in his heart. It was impossible for him to donate money himself, but he could still do it for humanitarian reasons. Dad, are you really going to help him? Super Chen didn't quite understand Father Chen's behavior. He just likes to compete with me, but he's become a little obsessed these past few years. Back when he was still in school, he was very competitive. But his nature isn't bad. Father Chen recalled the past and said thoughtfully, Son, you'll understand when you go to school in the future. School days are short, but they're also very beautiful. But I heard from my brothers that school is tiring, and there's endless homework. That's just one side of it. When you and Xiaoling go to school in the future, you'll understand that school days are the happiest. A lot of people don't think about school until they have a job. But I heard that Chief Liang is going to die soon. Donating this money won't help, right? Super Chen said. He's already been saved. Although he's still in critical condition, it's not a big problem. Saying this, Father Chen suddenly remembered the brocade pouch that Master Jin Dang had given him when he left the monastery. Father Chen still remembered what Master Jin Dang had said back then. He said that Super Chen would encounter a calamity when he was 16. Choose the right school for Super Chen, and he would be able to survive this calamity. Master then gave him a brocade pouch, and told him to open it when he got home. What's written in the brocade pouch? Don't worry. Father Chen opened the brocade pouch and took a look. Master has chosen a high school for you. When you're in high school, go to this school. It's already late, go to bed first. I'm going to write a donation post for Chief Liang. Oh. Father Chen spent about half an hour editing the post, and was just about to send it out when, in the university class group chat, which had been silent for a long time, an announcement suddenly popped up. Deep condolences, classmate Liang Heng has passed away. Father Chen was startled. Wasn't he already saved? Someone in the know replied. We just confirmed it with the hospital. The infection was very serious, and he wasn't out of danger yet. Looking at the message in the group, Father Chen turned to look at Super Chen's bedroom. For some reason he felt a chill. Chapter 972. After returning from Super Chen's memory, Wang Ling sat at his desk and was lost in thought for a long time. This was what he had written in his conclusion to Super Chen's essay. When we were young, we might have hesitated and felt helpless, but in the end we still grow up. When you don't know how to choose the right path, then become a man of indomitable spirit. Standing on the top of the mountain, you look so dazzling in the sunlight. It's like you've been blessed. It was September 6, the 24th day of the summer break. The day of establishing diplomatic relations with extraterrestrials was drawing near. During this time, someone had become popular, and that was the scientist Guoping, who had disappeared on an exploration mission on Divine Dao Star, and had come back to life. And now, Guoping had become the ambassador for establishing diplomatic relations with extraterrestrials, and was responsible for establishing diplomatic relations between the entire cultivation world and extraterrestrial life in the universe. Dopey Guo was overjoyed. This time, the Guo family had really produced an extraordinary big shot. Among Dopey Guo's many uncles, it was clear that Guoping had become the strongest uncle in a single leap. This was indeed a great surprise for Dopey Guo. After his last trip to Divine Dao Star, Wang Ling had replaced everyone's memories in number 60 high school, so Dopey Guo had no impression of this Uncle Guo at all. In his memory, he was just an ordinary game NPC. Holy shit! Would you believe me if I told you that Guoping is actually my uncle? Dopey Guo sent a surprised emoji in the small WeChat group. I believe you. But why didn't you send it in the class group? There are so many people in the class group. Super Chen was amused. Then it's better to keep a low profile. You're all my bros, so don't worry. As for the others, they might not believe me, said Dopey Guo. Where there were people, there was jealousy. Dopey Guo had thought it over and over again before he didn't brag about the fact that Guoping was his uncle. It was good for both him and Guoping. If word of this got out, people might think that he was bragging. What if some teacher got serious and asked him to invite Guoping to the school to give a speech? That would really be terrible. In fact, Dopey Guo was very self-aware. While it was true that Guoping was his uncle by blood, the problem was that their relationship wasn't so good that he could come and go as he pleased. Are you familiar with Guoping? Little Peanut asked at that moment. Dopey Guo said, I'm not familiar with them, but I think my dad is. There should be a way to contact him on the phone. There was a WeChat group of the Guo group, and Uncle Guoping was in it. But that group has been quiet for a long time. I've changed my phone. If no one leaves a message in the group, I might not be able to find it. Super Chen. When I saw your uncle on TV before, I felt like I had an affinity with him. I think I've seen him somewhere before. He looks like an NPC in a game. Wang Ling. Dopigua. Wang Ling, you're peeping again. Superchen laughed. Isn't he just like that? Is this the first day you met him? They discussed Guoping's matter in the group until noon. It couldn't be helped. As the ambassador of peace, Guoping's popularity had dominated the headlines for the past few days. Not only that, the entire cultivation world was connected to extraterrestrial life in the universe, and more extraterrestrial life came to light thanks to the information provided by Divine Tao Star. Of course, the information on the internet was only a portion of the public data. It didn't even have 5%. Previously, Divine Tao Star had tyrannically invaded and expanded in the universe, annexing more than 90% of the planets with intelligent life forms. But the Divine Dragons never expected that they would lose to Earth in the end. On the same night that they were talking about Guoping in the group, someone arrived at the entrance of the Wang family's small villa. Dog 2 was lying on its stomach at the entrance. When it looked up, it saw a man whose face was covered and who was wrapped up very tightly, walking toward the entrance in a very low-key manner with his hands in his pockets. Who are you? Dog 2 got up and spoke straight away. Although it didn't sense any hostility from this person, it still maintained a certain degree of vigilance. You can actually speak without taking human form? Hearing Dog 2 speak human language, the newcomer was dazed at first. He then took off his sunglasses, mask, sun hat, overcoat, and the gauze wrapped around his body. Finally, he peeled off a layer of skin from his face and pulled it off abruptly. This skin was a face-changing mask. There were ready-made ones on the market, and they could also be customized. There were all kinds of celebrity styles. When using it, it was like applying a facial mask. After applying it on your face for 5 minutes, the face-changing mask would change your appearance to that of the person you wanted. However, the purchase of a face-changing mask required a real name registration and a record to prevent people from using the mask to carry out illegal transactions. Huaxiao Alliance also strictly monitored the production rights of face-changing masks. Illegal production of face-changing masks was a very serious crime. If you were caught and sentenced, you would be sentenced to at least 500 years. Dog 2 stared blankly at the entrance. This person spent a full 5 minutes at the entrance to take off all his disguise. From head to toe, even his leg hair was fully covered. When he appeared in person, Dog 2 was instantly enlightened. It had actually seen this uncle before. That was nonsense. It was impossible that it hadn't seen him before. He had been so popular on TV these 2 days. Hello, I'm Guoping. The middle-aged uncle introduced himself. Ask him what he's doing here. On the second floor, Wang Ling spoke telepathically to Dog 2 in the bedroom. He hadn't expected Guoping to come to the villa in the afternoon after the chat group had started talking about him in the morning. Wang Ling felt that this was a little strange. He remembered that he should have already replaced Guoping's memories, although he had indeed made a move on Divine Tao Star. But now that his memories had been replaced, Guoping knew that the person who had fought the most fiercely was Bai Qiao. Logically speaking, after Wang Ling's memories had been replaced, he should have been invisible. Why had Guoping suddenly come knocking on his door? I'm here to see Ling Jinren, Guoping replied. No, my master is doing homework, he's very busy, said Dog 2. Then I'll help him with it, Guoping said with a smile. Dog 2 shock. Guoping, the famous academician of Huaxiao Nation's Magic Treasure Research Academy, and currently the hottest ambassador for establishing diplomatic relations and peace in the universe, was actually helping a high school student do his homework. Was this a distortion of human nature or a loss of morality? You don't have to reject me like that. Wang Ming, that guy already told me, and I also helped him upgrade the Dao Talisman back then. I just wanted to thank Ling Jinren this time. Guoping smiled helplessly. Thank you? That's right. Wang Ming said that it was Ling Jinren who provided the energy thread that allowed me to fly in space for so long back then. If it wasn't for Ling Jinren, I might still be floating in space. Aisheng Mobile Reading URL. Chapter 973. Guoping had arrived just in time. This was the usual time for dinner. Although Guoping had come uninvited, he was, after all, a big shot who no one dared to approach nowadays. What Wang Ling hadn't expected was that Guoping had actually contributed to the research on upgrading the Dao Talisman. He had long since known that even President Qi, who was as close to Wang Ming as his own father, had been kept in the dark about the talisman seal. Mother Wang was a little flattered. "Teacher Guo, why did you come to our house today?" "It's nothing, my nephew is Wang Ling's classmate. He's taken care of a lot by classmate Wang Ling, so I'm here today to see classmate Wang Ling and freeload a meal," Guoping said. Oh. Mother Wang was stupefied when she heard this. This teacher Guo was very friendly, but the Wang family had always been hospitable, and there was naturally no reason to refuse him, so Mother Wang could only ask Guoping to stay for dinner. The old man had invented a new dish, and when he saw the celebrity who had appeared on TV these days visiting the villa, his face lit up. "Teacher Guo, you came just in time. You must try tonight's new dish. I've heard that the old man's cooking is superb. I definitely won't stand on ceremony," Guoping said politely. "Teacher Guo, you flatter me. My new dish tonight is a pastry made from chilled red bayberries. After separating the meat from the bayberries, I minced them, then stuffed them into flour balls and kneaded them into long fried dough twists. Then deep fried them at high temperature to make plum intestine pastry. It's full of twists and turns, and the aftertaste is endless." The old man couldn't stop talking when the new dish was mentioned. "The old man is amazing." Guoping listened blankly, then laughed. "Don't call me Teacher Guo, just call me Little Guo." "All right, Little Guo. Since you're here for Ling Ling, I'll call him down," said Mother Wang. "No need to trouble yourself, Auntie, I'll go up myself," said Guoping. On the second floor, Wang Ling heard the conversation downstairs and sighed in his heart. This peaceful summer break was only halfway through, and in the end, there was this kind of trouble. But Guoping's appearance was even stranger to Wang Ling, because Wang Ming had never mentioned Guoping's involvement to him, not even the slightest bit. After all, making the talisman seal was a big deal. Wang Ling had already texted Wang Ming to ask about the situation, but Wang Ming still hadn't replied. Wang Ling suddenly missed that dumbass who had replied in seconds. Wang Ling didn't know what Guoping's personality was like, but after interacting with him for so long, he realized that Guoping was a very easygoing person who didn't treat him as an outsider at all. Guoping was very familiar with the way up to the second floor, as if he had already investigated beforehand, and was very clear about the location of Wang Ling's bedroom. Guoping lightened his footsteps as he reached Father Wang's study. It was clear that Guoping was well aware of Father Wang's identity. It seemed that Wang Ming indeed hadn't told Guoping much about them. Guoping knocked on Wang Ling's bedroom door. However, there was no response at all. Then he turned the doorknob again, and a human face suddenly appeared on the bedroom door. After Mother Wang had barged into his bedroom several times without knocking, he had already enchanted the door. And this new member was the door god. His full name was Nagato. "It's not convenient for our master to receive guests today. If you insist on barging in, I'll have to use Shinra Tensei. This door of yours is interesting." Guoping smiled. Although he had been startled by the sudden voice of the door just now, he very quickly regained his composure. He was well aware of Wang Ling's secret, so he wasn't too surprised by the various anomalies happening in the Wang family's small villa. Guoping knew that Wang Ling was deliberately avoiding him, and felt that it was most likely because Wang Ming hadn't communicated with him beforehand. In the last 2 days, the entire research institute had been busy receiving aliens and analyzing space civilizations. Many of the research institute's fruitless research had unexpectedly made breakthroughs after combining the methods provided by some extraterrestrial civilizations. Because of this, Wang Ming had actually been using his brain a lot these 2 days. Guoping thought that the reason Wang Ling didn't want to see him at the villa was most likely because Wang Ming hadn't officially woken up yet. After using his brain too much, Wang Ming's fainting stress reaction was very strong, and it was often accompanied by a strong fever that sometimes reached 70 or 80 degrees. A normal person's brain would have long since been fried. So in order to prevent this from happening, Wang Ming had installed a cooling device in his head. Thus, while Wang Ming looked very hot on the surface, the temperature inside his skull was actually normal. Now that he couldn't get through the door, Guoping was a little anxious. Unable to find Wang Ming, he could only call Jiayin. Hello? Little Yin? Is teacher Wang Ming awake? Not yet. On the other end of the line, Jiayin replied, the stress reaction this time is more serious, and he might need another day or so to cool down. Another day? It's already been several days, hasn't it? When I came to the Wang family's small villa before, he didn't help me greet him. His little brother isn't allowed in now. Did you bring crispy noodle snacks? No. Then I'm afraid you won't be able to get in today. How about this? I'll explain later. I know about this, and I'm more familiar with his little brother than you are. Alright, sorry to trouble little Ian. Are you cooking? I think I hear the sound of something frying. Frying steak, said Jiayin. Isn't the research institute not allowed to install gas? Guoping had a suspicious look on his face. Previously, Jiayin's fried dragon pork chop had almost killed President Qi. Since that day, the research institute had banned all tools that could be used to cook. Simple gas induction cookers and microwave ovens were all banned. Even magic treasures that could generate heat and fire were strictly controlled by President Qi. Apart from designated personnel, they weren't allowed to be lent out, especially to Jiayin. Their research institute was in the field of science and technology, not biological and chemical weapons. The lethality of Jiayin's dragon pork chop could be said to be deeply in line with Mother Wan's charm. As for the specific reaction after eating it, only President Qi alone knew. Although Guoping had only just returned, he was already very familiar with Jiayin and her cooking. Currently, the research institute had laboratories from level 1 to 10, and the higher the level of isolation. The purpose of the laboratories was to prevent chemicals and special gases from leaking during the course of research. As for Jiayin's dragon pork chop, experiments had shown that a level 10 laboratory wouldn't be able to withstand it. It had to be at least level 11. Old Qi won't let me cook all this time, and my hands have been itching for a long time. Don't worry, I didn't use the gas or induction cooker. I just thought that Wang Ming's head was burning up quite hot this time, and it would be a pity not to use it. You're frying steak on a person's head? Guoping was horrified. It's already medium done. I'll give it to you when you come back. Do you want some black pepper? Jiayin replied. Aishang Mobile Reading URL. Chapter 974. After the previous battle caused by Devil Gut Fungus Lord, brand new fortifications had been built on the border of Mishio Nation. Although Devil Gut Fungus Lord was already dead, the ecological environment on the border had been severely polluted because of him. This situation was like a nuclear leak, which was more troublesome to deal with, and would take some time. Devil Gut Fungus Lord's death had also eliminated President Bai at the same time. President Bai had been devoured by Devil Gut Fungus Lord in his stomach, and was destroyed along with him. After the border defense base, which had been equipped with a purification device, this place had entered automatic cleaning mode, and no cultivators had set foot here again. Outside the high wall, a young figure appeared. He had a head of white hair and a mysterious smile on his face, and he was in high spirits. Mose reminds you that you can't enter this place. Please leave within 30 seconds. Otherwise, the alarm defense system will automatically be activated. Defense system? The white-haired young man smiled. The next moment, his pupils turned slightly, and a powerful wave of spirit power surged out, instantly burning a big hole in the high wall. Mose gave a weak electronic voice. Sure enough, it's always an extravagant wish for humans to maintain their rationality. This is the place. After entering, the young man's body floated in the air, and his gaze focused on a spot. This was the spot where Devil Gut Fungus Lord had been destroyed back then, and the aura here was the strongest. Come back to life. The young man opened his palm, and a pure white light enveloped the ground with a sizzling sound as it roasted it. Sizzling, sizzling. When Wang Ming woke up, he could clearly smell the aroma of black pepper beef, which went straight to his head and made him feel a little dizzy. That wasn't right. Why did it smell like steak? Just as he was about to get up, Jiayin pressed him down. Don't move, Wang Ming. Jiayin picked up the steak from Wang Ming's forehead, then poked it with a pair of tongs. Hey, this piece is only medium rare. Wang Ming was startled. So you're using my forehead as an induction cooker? I haven't cooked for a long time. Old Qi wouldn't let me. Later, I found out that you'd passed out, so this is a useful resource. It'd be a pity not to use it. Jia Yin pointed at her sister-in-law on the table, which was piled together with the steaks that had just been fried. I just fried more than 10 pieces. Do you want to try them? Wang Ming wiped his sweat. You should keep this biochemical weapon for yourself. You have no taste. Jia Yin pursed her lips and put down the piece of beef. You need to pay attention to your rest. If your brain continues to overload like this, something bad will happen. Old Qi gave you half a month off and allowed you to walk around in plain clothes. Qi Wang I and Qi I know. Wang Ming nodded. What about the alien handover? Leave it to Elder Gua. After Elder Gua came back, several of his disciples also came back. They are very efficient. Qi Zhai and Dao Qi King Xing heads on Xing his head. Jia Yin Qi Wang Qi was Qi King's head. Wang Ming patted his head. He had almost forgotten about this. Wang Ming hadn't told Wang Ling about Guoping's involvement in the Dao Talisman research at all. And Wang Ming had his own reasons for this. The main reason he had gotten Guoping involved in the research back then was because of his analysis of the material used to make the Dao Talisman seal, which was the Wang Ling substance. Guoping had a unique train of thought when it came to analyzing the substance of this thing. Sometimes scientific research was just like writing. It often lacked a unique idea and inspiration. I'll talk to old Gua about this later. Also, give me my dream restorer, Wang Ming said. The dream restorer was a magic treasure that Wang Ming had invented previously for fun. It could restore a person's dreams over a period of 24 hours. Dreams were intermittent memories, and people often forgot about them after waking up. It would be very convenient to have this dream restorer. Wang Ming would occasionally have some dreams where he bullied Wang Ling, and he would often restore them before recording and editing them. He didn't even need to add 50 cents in special effects to create a blockbuster movie. Did you dream about bullying your little brother again? Jia Yin chuckled. She was already used to this damned brother complex. In order to restore his dream of bullying his little brother, he had even created a dream restorer. Jia Yin swore that she had never seen someone more perverted than this brother complex. Aren't you a little unhappy that I dreamed about my little brother? Wang Ming raised his eyebrows. From now on you don't need to add vinegar when you cook. What do you mean? Jia Yin glared at Wang Ming like a leopard staring at its prey. Wang Ming was instantly terrified. It's nothing. Nowadays everyone likes to eat lemons. It's normal to be a little sour. Well, you decide where to go tomorrow. I won't go to my little brother's place. It's about time. Jia Yin swept Wang Ming a glance, then took out a silk pouch and took out the dream restorer. As his bodyguard and assistant, Jia Yin already carried some magic treasures that Wang Ming often used with her. Jia Yin, you use it, I'll go figure out where to go tomorrow. Wang Ming. All right. The reason why he wanted to use the dream restorer today wasn't because of anything else, but because of the dream just now, which Wang Ming was very concerned about. The purification and defense base on Mishio Nation's border, and the white-haired youngster who had suddenly appeared in front of the base. Wang Ming could only vaguely remember these images. After Devil Gut Fungus Lord's destruction, Wang Ming actually knew about Mishio Nation's defense base. Previously, Mishio's research cooperation team had even come to ask them about the design drawings. But Wang Ming had never been to this border defense base even once. But now, a complete base had actually appeared in his dream, and everything seemed so real. This made Wang Ming feel a little uneasy. He couldn't forget the smile of the white-haired youngster in his dream. Furthermore, he always felt that the youngster seemed a little familiar. So strange. Wang Ming frowned. He had never had such an odd dream before. When he put on the helmet of the dream restorer, the dream he had when he had been unconscious reappeared. He saw the defense base with its towering walls, which were like the Great Wall. He also saw the white-haired youngster in his dream, who gave him a familiar yet strange feeling. At that moment, the youngster turned his head and smiled at him. He had the same face as Wang Ling's. Chapter 975. It was a face identical to Wang Ling's. Wang Ming was lost in deep thought at this. He couldn't be more familiar with this face, but there was also something about it that he wasn't familiar with. The youngster had snow-white hair and a smile that was very rare to see on Wang Ling. This definitely wasn't the Wang Ling Wang Ming was familiar with. Was someone imitating his younger brother's face? Or was this dream a foreshadowing of something? Wang Ming felt that there was something strange about the whole thing. What's wrong? When Jai Yin came back, she noticed that Wang Ming's expression was a little ugly. It's nothing. Wang Ming shook his head and looked at Jai Yin. Get in touch with Roger and ask him if Mishio Nation's border base has suffered any attacks. All right. Jai Yin nodded and didn't ask any more questions. Roger was a foreign friend of Wang Ming's at Mishio's Magic Treasure Research Institute, and he had a very close relationship with Wang Ming himself. It was Roger who had taken the initiative to discuss the details of the design drawings for Mishio's border defense base this time. It was also Roger who had named the artificial intelligence robot Mose for the entire border defense system. Although Guoping had eaten at the Wang family's small villa, he hadn't said much to Wang Ling in the end. Wang Ling didn't know anything about Guoping at all. Before Wang Ming could explain it clearly, he chose to remain silent as usual, and when he did open his mouth, he was a man of few words. At the dinner table, Guoping praised him. Classmate Wang Ling has quite a character, I like it. Wang Ling. Father and Mother Wang. Guoping. My nephew seems to be on good terms with you? Wang Ling. Father and Mother Wang. Guoping. Classmate Wang Ling is really a man of few words. Do you have anything else to say besides Wang Ling. Oh. Father and Mother Wang. Wang Ling had always maintained a deadpan attitude toward people he didn't know well. Father and Mother Wang had specifically mentioned this before, and they felt that it was actually very rude of their son to act like this. But over time they had gotten used to it. After all, as a Capricorn, it was indeed very hard for Wang Ling to warm up to people he didn't know. But Guoping's personality was the exact opposite of Wang Ling's. He was naturally friendly and enthusiastic about everything. This personality was in stark contrast to Wang Ling's, and for a moment, Wang Ling felt a little at a loss. Before he left, Guoping received a reply from Wang Ming. At that moment, Wang Ming had already woken up after Roger had verified the relevant information on the border. Wang Ming knew that Guoping was still at the Wang family's small villa. Given Wang Ling's personality, Guoping's visit at this time would definitely be met with a cold shoulder. Wang Ming knew his brother's personality too well, so he apologized to Guoping and took the blame. It wasn't that he was deliberately trying to protect Wang Ling. It was mainly because he hadn't communicated with Wang Ling properly this time. Guoping didn't mind. He had come here shamelessly, mainly to test Wang Ling's strength. Although he hadn't spoken much to Wang Ling, he had gained a preliminary understanding of him. He looked like an ordinary high school student, but he wasn't ordinary at all. When they left, Guoping greeted Wang Ling. Classmate Wang Ling, do you want to go to the noodle house tomorrow? That noodle restaurant serves instant fried crispy noodle snacks. This time he finally said a third word besides N and O. Wang Ling. Okay. Guoping was startled. He had asked so many questions before, but this guy had always looked disinterested. In the end, at the mention of crispy noodle snacks, it felt like nuclear bombs could be placed in Wang Ling's pupils. Was this some kind of red packet password? The noodle house that Wang Ming had arranged for Guoping and Wang Ling to meet was actually nowhere else. Number 3600, Spirit Creek Road was where Wang Ling had killed the sky-swallowing toad at the age of 6, and where the Crispy Noodle Snacks flagship store had opened back then. Fang Xing's family's noodle house was right next to this flagship store. When Wang Ling had killed the sky-swallowing toad back then, Fang Xing had been the first witness. Although Fang Xing had always invited him, Wang Ling had never been to his family's noodle house. It just so happened that it was the summer break. After writing Super Chen's personal essay, Wang Ling felt that it was time for him to go out and look for inspiration before continuing to write another personal essay. It was September 7th, the 25th day of the summer break. Early in the morning, Wang Ling hurried in the direction of Fang Xing's house with Loopy Toad on its leash. Why did he want to take Loopy Toad with him? After all, Wang Ling had been traumatized when Dog 2 had fallen from the sky back then. Dog 2 actually felt very wronged in its heart. How was this a psychological trauma that it had caused? Even if it had, was it bigger than Wang Ling's? It had been killed 3 times in a row. 3 times. And in the end, even its species had changed. Fangxing had been fostered in the Fang family, and their adoptive parents were a pair of good people. Not only had they raised Fangxing, they had also run a pretty big noodle house. Wang Ling heard that the Fang couple's noodle house was going to open a chain store very soon. Wang Ling and Loopy Toad stood on this bustling commercial street on Spirit Creek Road. Right in front of them was the century-old Crispy Noodle Snacks flagship store. And on the side was Fangxing's family's noodle house. In the middle of the entire commercial street was a life-size bronze statue of Audiobook. This bronze statue was made up of 2 parts. One was Audiobook, and the other was Dog 2's original sky-swallowing toad form. This bronze statue had been made to commemorate Audiobook's great achievement 6 years ago. As for how Audiobook had defeated Dog 2 back then, apart from Fangxing, there had actually been no witnesses. Thus, the artist who had designed the bronze statue had started to fill in the blanks. He had carved Audiobook very handsomely, holding a very exaggerated spirit sword in his hand as he faced Dog 2's sky-swallowing toad statue with a heroic expression on his face. Wang Ling held Loopy Toad's hand and stared at it for a long time. Dozens of seconds later, the bronze statue actually started to move on its own. Both master and servant were shocked. This bronze statue could actually move. Audiobook stabbed Loopy Toad's stomach with the sword, and then the statue started to spray water from its mouth, which splashed beautifully onto the green belt on the side. Wang Ling and Loopy Toad. And that wasn't the most insane thing. At the base of the bronze statue was a circulation device. The soil used to grow plants was artificial spirit soil. After absorbing excess water, it would drain it out, and the extra water would then be sucked back into the bronze statue's stomach through the circulation device for reuse. Every 5 minutes, Loopy Toad would be stabbed. In front of the bronze statue, Loopy Toad rubbed its stomach and inexplicably felt an abdominal pain. Tianjin. Chapter 976. When Wang Ling led Dog 2 in, Guoping and Wang Ming were drinking tea inside. The LCD screen at the entrance of the noodle shop said, "Closed." Knowing that Wang Ling was coming today, Fangxing had discussed with his adoptive parents last night to close the noodle shop. Actually, this wasn't just because of Wang Ling, but also because of Guoping and Wang Ming's identities. Needless to say, Wang Ming was a panda in the research institute, and President Qi usually wouldn't let anyone show his face. Academician Guoping was even more so the big shot who had been the hottest topic on the internet in the last 2 days, an alien diplomat and cosmic peace ambassador. The visit of these 2 people was enough to shut down the noodle shop. Of course, for Fangxing, the most important person was still Wang Ling. He knew that Wang Ling didn't like to deal with strangers. Fangxing had invited him so many times, and now that Wang Ling had finally come, Fangxing naturally had to take care of Ling Zhenren's feelings in all aspects. That was right. After saying so much, in the end, it was all for classmate Wang Ling. Entering with Dog 2, Wang Ling realized that the restaurant's decor was a little familiar. The kitchen was right in the middle of the restaurant, with several pots on it, and all the cooking was done right under people's noses. At the back of the noodle shop were the food and ingredients rooms. All the fresh ingredients were replenished and replaced every day. And there were cameras in the back to make the entire environment public and transparent, giving customers a sense of security when eating. Although this was Wang Ling's first time at the Fang family's noodle shop, he knew that it had a very high rating online. It was ranked first in the fabric management area. This wasn't something that an ordinary noodle shop could do. "You're here, Wang Ling." Wang Ling took Dog 2 to one side, and saw Fangxing come out of the ingredients room. He was wearing a mask, a chef's hat, and a white apron. "Do you know you look like someone's wife today?" Wang Ming laughed. Fangxing clearly hadn't been dressed like this when he had first arrived. "My parents said they wouldn't be coming today, so I had to do it myself," Fangxing said with a shrug. "Did they really not come, or did you send them away?" Wang Ming laughed. Guoping looked at him. then swept his gaze over Wang Ling with the expression of an old uncle who knew very well. You can interpret it however you want. My parents are outsiders, so we can talk about me more freely without them around. Feng Xing smiled brightly. In any case, I'm the chef today. Eat if you want. Eat. How can you not eat? Wang Ming was very supportive. The reason was that he thought of the steaks that Jai Yin fried on his forehead when he was unconscious yesterday. It was said that when the steaks were thrown into the chemical treatment station last night, they almost burned a big hole in the chemical protection wall of the treatment station. Compared with Mother Wan's cooking, Jai Yin's cooking also had its own unique characteristic, and that was the delayed poison reaction. Mother Wan's food would immediately explode. On the other hand, Jai Yin's pills didn't seem to have any poison, and there didn't seem to be any problems after eating them. However, the poison would slowly take effect after a few hours. That was the scariest part. Then it settled. I'll go buy crude oil. Feng Xing untied his apron and smiled. Crude. It's a special type of oil that must be used to fry crispy noodle snacks. You need to buy it from a designated shop, but the shop isn't responsible for delivering it. When I checked the ingredients room just now, I found that the crude oil has been used up. Feng Xing smiled at Wang Ling, then untied his apron. Also, you can order whatever noodles you want on the menu. If you don't have enough ingredients, I can buy more on this trip. Then I'll have spirit rhino milk noodles, Guoping said. Dog 2. I want big meat fly noodles. Wang Ming. I want chicken. You are 2 beautiful noodles. Wang Ling. All right, I got it. Feng Xing smiled. He didn't ask Wang Ling what he wanted to eat. In any case, he just needed to prepare a portion of every crispy noodle snack flavor. You guys chat first, I'll be back in a bit. Feng Xing said goodbye to Guoping and Wang Ming, then untied his apron and left the noodle shop. After Feng Xing left, the noodle shop gradually quieted down. Wang Ming thought for a bit, then decided to introduce Guoping first. He knew that Guoping's visit to the Wang family's villa last night had been a little awkward. Ling Ling, let me introduce you to Professor Guoping again, Wang Ming said. Wang Ling stared at Guoping with an expression that he was seeing him for the first time. Professor Guo has indeed been involved in a small part of the Dao Talisman research. But this small part is also a key part, so I think we'll need Professor Guo's continued help in the follow-up research on Dao Talismans, Wang Ming said. To be honest, with Guoping's help previously, Wang Ling's research had gone very smoothly. But after Guoping's death, his research had hit all kinds of bottlenecks. Wang Ming indeed had the strongest brain, but sometimes that didn't mean he could completely do without the help of a team. Guoping could be considered the first partner Wang Ming had acknowledged in scientific research. Now that things had come to this, Wang Ling naturally had no objections. Guoping didn't have a bad heart. Wang Ling could see that. Why do you look like you're sighing? Dog 2 asked at that moment. The addition of a new partner should have been a happy occasion. Guoping and Wang Ming looked at each other, and after confirming the look in their eyes, Guoping frowned and said, It's like this. Last night, Wang Ming received news that a big hole had mysteriously appeared in Mishio Nation's newly built border defense barrier. A big hole? That's right. Furthermore, this big hole was clearly man-made. The AI robot Mo's guarding it was also completely destroyed, but it wasn't able to send out any alarms before it was discovered. This proves that the person did things cleanly and efficiently, Wang Ming continued. In fact, the destruction of the border defense barrier was just one of many things. After a pause, Wang Ming continued. Although there's no substantial evidence at the moment, I'm guessing that Devil Gut Fungus Lord and President Bai Zhe, who were previously confirmed dead, have probably been resurrected. Resurrected. Hearing this, Wang Ling fell silent. The method of resurrection was one of the 3,000 great spells to begin with, but Wang Ling had never used it because it would destroy the order of life. The problem was that if someone had used Heavenly Dao to resurrect, he should have sensed it. However, there hadn't been the slightest hint that this had happened yesterday. It was clear that the technique this person had used wasn't Heavenly Dao, Outer Dao, or even Divine Dao. Resurrecting Devil Gut Fungus Lord and the others. What was this person's purpose? It couldn't be to cure constipation. Chapter 977. It didn't matter who that youngster was or what his purpose was. The resurrection of President Bai and Devil Gut Fungus Lord was a big deal in itself. These were two very troublesome enemies. Devil Gut Fungus Lord would continue to grow stronger over time, while President Bai had a terrifying self-recovery ability. If these two people were resurrected, he would have to slap them a few more times. How tiring. Wang Ling sighed in his heart. So to prevent this from happening, the best option was to keep these two guys in the cradle from the very beginning. So if he wanted to find clues on these two people, the mysterious youngster with the special power was currently the only clue. Are there any leads on that youngster? Wang Ling asked. This time, Wang Ling didn't use telepathy, and instead chose to speak, which was a rare sight. This proved that he also attached great importance to this matter. Furthermore, since Guoping had already joined them, there were no outsiders in this noodle house. Wang Ling rarely spoke, but when he spoke, Wang Ming, Guoping and Dog 2 on the ground immediately got goosebumps all over. It was a pity that he didn't become a voice actor with this voice. Su Shangqing? Guoping raised his eyebrows. Actually, Guoping was also a fanatical ACG fan, and he was quite familiar with voice actors. But he felt that Wang Ling's voice was a little similar to that of a CV called Su Shangqing. Su Shangqing? He's done voice acting for the story of Choosing Heaven, Battle Through the Heavens, and my eldest senior brother has a hole in the brain. Most importantly, he's going to do voice acting for the daily life of the immortal king. I see. Wang Ming had a puzzled expression on his face. Wang Ling. Returning to the topic, Guoping began to talk about some of the information he had gathered last night. These were all the results of Roger's analysis from Mixiao Nation's Research Institute. Mose didn't leave behind any substantial evidence before it was destroyed, and didn't even get a picture of the youngster's face. Guoping said unhurriedly, but based on the big hole in the border defense base, the intruder wasn't very old, and was about 178 centimeters tall. We have a complete set of magic artifacts that can restore and analyze spells, and thus determine the angle at which the attacker raised his hand when casting the spell. A spellcaster usually doesn't cast the spell in a very exaggerated manner, and basically can't exceed the shoulder. And judging from the footprints left at the scene, the caster is extremely confident in his own magic attack, and his whole body is extremely close to the destroyed location. And this will prove two things. 1. The spellcaster has the ability to accurately judge spells. He will make sure that the position he is standing in will not hurt himself. However, based on the degree of damage to the wall, the power of that blow was especially strong. That's why I think the second possibility might be more likely. That is, this person is completely unafraid of magic damage, and is especially conceited. Such a conceited person would usually try to be as pretentious as possible when casting spells. They would never cast spells with overly large postures, because it would affect their beauty. Wang Ling and Dog 2 on the ground were stunned by Guoping's analysis. Have you studied criminal psychology? Buttface couldn't help but ask. A little, but most of the situation is just based on scientific inference. Guoping said, based on the above information, I calculated this person's height. As for his age, it was also based on the information Roger sent me. The spirit power molecules left at the scene were relatively young, so considering that the other party should be about the same age as you. Wang Ling? ? Wang Ling frowned. About the same age as him. Could it be that there was another cultivation genius hidden in the world? Guoping's analysis was clear and logical, and this information was the same as what Wang Ming had seen in his dream. Although Wang Ming still couldn't quite believe it, basically all the information now matched up with his dream. For the time being, Wang Ming hadn't shared this with anyone else. But now he felt that he had to say it. I have something to tell you about my dream last night. Wang Ming raised his head with a complicated expression on his face. Elsewhere, Fang Xing ran into some problems on his way out to buy ingredients. He had used his foster parents' new Benqi sword to buy groceries. He had just picked it up from the Benqi 4S shop yesterday, but it had started leaking spirit power halfway through the journey. Nowadays, imported industrialized products weren't reliable either. What a F*** king scam. Fangxing remembered that his adoptive parents had been forced to pay a financial service fee in order to buy this spirit sword. Yesterday he had heard them complain about how the service staff's attitude had been like a storm before and after they paid, and how they changed their attitudes faster than one could flip a book. There was a saying, "With Benchi in hand, the world is mine." It's hard to move an inch for more than 600,000. Halfway through the journey, the spirit power leaked. Financial service, cash payment, after-sales service, basically nothing. Now that the spirit power had leaked, Fangxing had no choice but to stop flying and walk to his destination. He didn't have a spare spirit sword on him, but fortunately, he wasn't far from his destination. Fangxing stopped at a nearby park. There was a spirit bus stop next to the market, and he could take a spirit bus back later. Just as he was about to take a step toward the market, a hand suddenly fell on his shoulder. "Classmate Fang, please wait." "Who is it?" Fangxing was alert. He could feel this person's hand, but he couldn't see his figure, which proved two things. First, this person was currently invisible. Second, this person had used a layered space spell, which meant that under normal circumstances, no one could see him at all. Yet, this person was able to maintain normal communication. Generally speaking, no matter what the situation was, only criminals on the run could use this method to hide their identity. And this voice just now felt strangely familiar to Fangxing. "What do you want?" Fangxing asked. "Come with us. My master wants to see you." The person's voice sounded very terrifying from behind Fangxing. Fangxing struggled for a bit, but realized that this person was as strong as an ox, and he couldn't break free at all. Fangxing grit his teeth, turned around, and twisted his entire arm off in a way that ordinary people couldn't, breaking free of the person's control. Then, Fangxing took a step forward, and the scene in front of him instantly changed. This was the second-generation intrinsic spirit field which his father, Immortal Shi Pai, had passed on to him. The person in front of him didn't have good intentions, and was definitely an enemy. Thus, Fangxing didn't think too much about it, and decided to meet this person first. You're tuning into the Echoes of the Heart YouTube channel. Don't forget to subscribe and join us on this journey to catch the most captivating stories.